Chapter 21, The Mansion. The car took 10 whole minutes to reach the top of the hill, where the main building was built in Renaissance-style architecture. After the car stopped, Hilda quickly got out with Leo, who went and gracefully opened the door for Victor, allowing him to swagger out of the car with Lily, who quickly thanked Leo with a little bow. Leo seemed interested in coming along for a tour of this fancy mansion, but Victor quickly sent him away. "You return to the company for today, and make sure to be here at 8 a.m. tomorrow to pick me up," Victor said to the dejected Leo, who could only drive the car back to the company. He had to think of a good way to get into this young master's good book. After watching the car leave the gate down the hill, Hilda looked at Victor and introduced herself again with a deep bow. Hilda greets the young master. "I have been instructed by the master to take care of all your needs, now let's head inside," Hilda said as she started to walk towards the door. "I have no interest in old women," replied Victor arrogantly while following with Lily, who could barely contain her laugh. Hilda stumbled a little, but quickly adjusted her steps and acted as if she did not hear anything. "What's wrong with this guy? And am I really that old?" she asked herself. She has heard rumors about him being a pervert, but no one said anything about him having something wrong with his head. There seems to be a red bump on his head though, she thought. Entering the villa, they were greeted by a big entry hall floored in black and white marble tiles and two symmetric flights of stairs heading towards the upper floors. Hilda quickly began to introduce the villa to this young master. She started to walk through the rooms one by one. The more rooms he walked through, the more satisfied Victor became. This mansion was built sparing no luxury. It had 3 stories, containing 5 bedrooms with their baths, and a special grand bathroom located in the first basement. In addition to that, there is a grand hall for parties and many unused rooms. The interior was decorated heavily with expensive antiques, like ancient vases, wool carpets, and Baroque paintings, giving it an aura culture and deep heritage. It was built about 25 years ago by his father, who did not live in it in the end, due to him having been gifted a better place by the family for one of his accomplishments. When they reached the garage, Victor was surprised to find it empty. "Where are all the cars? I didn't see any outside. What way of transportation do you use here?" he asked, as he didn't want to use the company's car all the time. "There are no cars here, young master. There was no need to until now. The bus stop is right down the hill," she answered. Victor nodded his head and decided to go buy a few cars later, but he might need a trusty driver as he didn't have his driving license yet, and driving was not good for the image he wants to build. "Do you know how to drive?" he asked Lily. "Yes, young master. But I don't have a license," she answered truthfully. She has been trained to use many kinds of combat vehicles, including helicopters. "Hilda, contact the administrative officer in this city and ask him for driving licenses for us." "Understood," he ordered Hilda, who quickly nodded her head, then took a small notebook and recorded his instructions so she does not forget. After that, she took him to tour the 2 adjacent buildings. They were relatively new. They seemed to have been built about 4 or 5 years ago in a full expansion project. According to Hilda, the separate servants' resident building contains a dormitory and a dining room for the maids and some empty apartments for the employees. As for the gym and the indoor swimming pool, they were in a separate domed building. There was another unused 4-story building a little further from the other 3. But Victor was not interested in touring it, as according to Hilda it was completely empty. Hilda also informed him that each building has an additional 3 floors underground as per family regulations. The bottom basement was designed as a nuclear shelter. There is also an outdoor pool and a prepared martial arts training ground. As for the lush forests surrounding the villa, they are also a part of the mansion. In fact, this entire hill is one complete property. Victor was quite satisfied with this. It was perfectly suited for his plans, as he intends to build his future base here. He looked at Hilda, who seemed to have ended their tour. "Who do you report to?" he asked her. "I report to young Master Nick usually," she answered. Nick was his illegitimate half-brother. Although he had no pureblood, he was quite talented and brave, choosing to attend the ceremony despite its dangers. There he was able to awaken as a semi-player, so his father let him take care of the business here in Vane City. He should have been the caretaker of this mansion before it was granted to Victor. The new buildings are probably his idea. Maybe he thought that one day he would inherit it. In his past life, he did not meet this half-brother, as he died a few days before Victor got here. Victor didn't care back then, but later when he read the records he discovered that this guy was not a good thing. It was all thanks to his mysterious death when this mansion was burned that all the dirt on him was discovered. The family didn't know who killed him, but they had a few suspects. and he knew one of them very well. I have to be careful, he warned himself. You will be reporting to me from now on. Where is that bastard Nick? Why don't I see him? Doesn't he want to come and welcome this young master? He asked arrogantly. He is out of contact since last week. Every month, young Master Nick has such times where we can't reach him, she answered. I see, he said, trying to remember what he read about Nick back then. Don't worry, young master, as soon as I can contact him I will inform him of your arrival, Hilda said. That's fine, are you the only servant here? He asked her. No, not anymore, I used to be alone here, but now there are 2 others, but, she hesitated a little then continued. About 2 years ago 2 intruders broke into the mansion, but when I caught them, they turned out to be 2 twin sisters. Apparently, their parents were killed by some loan shark, and the said man wanted to take them and sell them to some brothel, so they escaped here. After I interrogated them, they told me their story, and the loan shark seemed to have followed them here, so I took the liberty to have him in too, for a round of interrogation. And their statements matched. She paused a little. I am sorry, young master, when I found out that these 2 were very talented, I could not bring myself to kill them according to the protocol, so after I did a background check on them using the family's network, I offered them a choice, either death or becoming slaves to the owner of the mansion and serving as maids here. They argued and tried to escape first, but after some convincing they agreed, as they had no money and no place to stay, but with one condition, that we allow them to finish school, so I took the liberty to accept their condition. I am very sorry. She bowed down to Victor, who looked at her with a piercing gaze. Bringing outsiders to the family without a family member's approval is not a small offense. Does my father or Nick know? He asked. The master has not called here for the last 5 years, not until yesterday when he informed me of your arrival. As for young Master Nick, I may have forgotten to tell him about them, she said with sweat beads falling through her white hair. How much do they know about the family? He asked as if he didn't care about her misdemeanor. I didn't tell them any secrets, they only know that this house master belongs to a very rich and powerful family who seems to have some weird hobbies. But don't worry, master, I have been training them well. They should know their place. How did you put the family's tattoo on them? He asked. This tattoo requires special artifacts to be branded. I took them to a certain establishment in the downtown. It is run by the family. The owner there owes me a favor, she answered. Oh, interesting, where are they now? He asked as she just got him interested. I ordered them to prepare dinner for you, they should be waiting for us in the dining room by now, she replied. Fine, let's go see them then. What are we waiting for? He said. But Hilda did not move. After some struggle, she said in an anxious voice, it's just. Young master, these 2 girls are really talented. I hope you don't be too hard on them, maybe they would have a chance to awaken someday, they might be of great use to you. She said before turning around and start walking towards the dining room. Victor looked at her back, chuckled, then followed. Looks like she treats them like her own daughters, but can they be trusted? He thought. Chapter 22, The Twins. When Victor entered the dining hall, what awaited him is a table full of all kinds of delicacies, but that is not what grabbed his attention, but the 2 twin girls standing nervously next to the table. The twins were the same age as him, very beautiful with matching red hair and black eyes. They were dressed in black maid dresses. Mina, Mana, greet the young master, Hilda ordered the girls, who quickly bowed and saluted Victor. Hello, young master. We are pleased to meet you, they said in unison. Victor stood there in shock. It was not because of their beauty, but because he knew those 2. Oh, this is trouble, big trouble. He thought, now he gets it, it has something to do with them, it must be him. Victor quickly reassumed his persona of a perverted young master and began to inspect the girls with perverted eyes. Not bad, he said, a meal with beauties was worth the delay. He swaggered into the room, to the head of the table, where Lily quickly helped him pull a chair so he can sit down as a noble young master. Since this is my first meal in the house, I will allow all of you to sit and eat with me. I have some questions I want to ask, he said, watching Lily, who began to fill his dish. Hilda and the twins looked at each other, then following a nod from Hilda they sat at the table and joined the meal. He tried to use his appraisal on the twins, but there was no response. They are not players yet. It seems he had to use his class's power. Troublesome, he thought, and began to eat. After an award 5 minutes of silence, Victor, who had just finished chewing a juicy piece of meat, looked at the twins. You 2 are very beautiful, do you know that? He asked them, making them lower their heads in shame. He didn't wait for an answer to his rhetoric question but glanced at Hilda and questioned her. How did you manage to hide their existence from Nick? That guy should come here quite often, he asked as he inspected the twins. As far as he knows, Nick was the perverted type. If he saw the twins, he would not let go of such a prized catch. Hilda got Victor meant. I purposefully hid the girls or sent them out to school when young Master Nick came here to inspect the mansion, she said. She was very protective of them. Stop calling him young master, that bastard does not deserve it. I am the only young master here, understood? He berated. Yes, young master, said Hilda, while thinking about a way to appease him. Victor nodded his head, then looked at the twins. Hilda just said that the two of you go to school. What school? He asked, although already knowing the answer. Mina looked at her sister, then answered. Young master. We went to a normal middle school, but this year we enrolled at the special high school. Oh, I will also attend that school in 2 months. We will be classmates, he said with an evil smile, then glanced at Hilda. Getting 2 commoner servant girls into the special high school was not an easy task. There are quite a few commoners and non-player students in the school, but most of them either came from some official background or had very high talents. As for who she asked for the seats, he had no idea. Did you ask someone in the family for help to enroll them? He looked at Hilda and asked. Hilda shook her head. No, young master, I didn't need to, it was by their own efforts. They have attempted the school's exam by themselves and achieved full score, she answered proudly. Not bad, he thought as he nodded his head in approval. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a sound of a phone rang on the table. Mina quickly fumbled around her pockets and took her phone out, but before she could press reject, Victor's sound came and surprised her. Answer it, with the loudspeaker on, he ordered. Mina shook a little, but Hilda's angry voice woke her up quickly. What are you doing? Quickly do as young master ordered, she told her. Mina hastily set the phone on the table and activated the loudspeaker. Hello, Mina, it's me, Tom, the youthful voice came from the phone speaker. Ah, hi Tom, I am a little busy, is there something? She asked with a hidden smile on her face. Oh, I just wanted to invite you and your sister to my birthday party tomorrow night. Many of our class will be coming, are you available? Mina didn't know how to answer, she really wanted to go, but... So she looked at Hilda, who looked in turn at Victor. Victor gets it now, he could construct an approximate image of what happened in here in his past life. Hilda most likely sent the girls to the birthday party to avoid Nick's inspection, but something happens in the mansion late that night, maybe after the girls returned. It must be Tom. Victor knew him well, and he is very troublesome. Back then, when Victor entered school, the twins were inseparable from Tom, and they did not seem to have the servant mark on them. For erasing the mark they would probably need a master seal, and Nick has one. He has to tread carefully now. He has 2 choices, one to let the girls go and be Tom's, or fix them to be his. And if chose to fix them, can he do it? Mina, are you listening? It is in the Flying Dragon restaurant, downtown, will you come? Victor looked at Mina, who had been looking at him with pleading eyes, and nodded that she may go. Let's play this softly, he decided. So with a smile blooming on her face, she answered yes. We will be there, now I have to go. Take care. Then saying that, she hung up. But before she can thank the young master, he interrupted. I will go with you tomorrow, I want to see the city, he said with a smirk. The twins' faces turned white. I want to experience the world of commoners for once. So tomorrow we should shop for some gifts, we can't go empty-handed, he said arrogantly. With that, the twins' faces regained some color. At least he is not unreasonable. Victor soon finished his meal and stood up. Now I am going to sleep, and you girls will accompany me tonight. Guide me to my room, he said. The girls were frightened. They have already seen this coming, but still, this is going too fast. Even Lily looked at Victor with strange eyes. Hilda sighed secretly, then stepped forward and signaled Victor to follow her, while the twins began to shake with an anxious look on their faces. Chapter 23, Hug Pillows. The master bedroom was huge, containing a double king-sized bed in addition to a big panoramic window looking onto the superb scenery of the forest below and the city in the distance. It also had a connected master bathroom. Victor nodded in approval, then ordered the hesitant Hilda to go get the girls ready. When Hilda left the room, he quickly looked at Lily and asked her to check the room for surveillance. So she quickly performed her task and reported that it was all clear. And just when he was about to tell her about her next assignment, there was a knock on the door. Hilda entered, followed by 2 red-haired shaking girls in black silk pajamas. They had unwilling faces and aggrieved eyes. Victor swallowed his saliva. Not bad, he thought. But just when he was about to talk to them, he was interrupted again, but this time it was Lily. Young master, I want your permission to report to your esteemed mother that you have arrived safely at the mansion, she said while keeping her eyes on the ground, not daring to look at her young master. Victor turned his head and looked at her with a piercing glare. Did my mother order you to spy on me? He asked. No, never, young master, she just asked me to regularly report on your health. She was really worried about you. I know what can and can't be said, Lily quickly tried to explain herself. Victor knew well what Lily and his mother meant, and his heart was full of warmth, but his mouth was not. Okay, good then, go report to your heart's content. Then he turned to Hilda and yelled, Hilda, find a nearby room for dear Lily so she can keep reporting all night. And with that, he pushed Lily and Hilda out of the room, locking the door behind them. Lily was shocked. Her young master's reaction was not what she expected, but while he was just driving her out, he whispered in her little ear. Survey the entire mansion, I have things to do here. It seems this was all part of his plan. So she quickly asked Hilda to guide her to a suitable room and then followed her. She was not really comfortable with the young master being alone with two pretty twins, but she knew that he will not touch them tonight. Probably. Victor looked at the two girls who were still shaking. Maybe he can use them for a massage? He thought with a smile. Turn around and show me the tattoo on your necks, he said softly. The girls looked at each other, then turned around and held their flowing hair, revealing the family's crest in faint ink on the back of their necks. Since Hilda did not let them meet Nick, so their tattoos were the family's crest and not others, so any member of the family can claim them. Victor approached them slowly and took out his purple token. Don't resist the feeling you will have, or it would hurt you, he said in a soft voice. The girls shook a little, then nodded their heads. They have already been through this once. Victor quickly placed the token on their necks one at a time and marked them as his servants. Now, he got them, but how to keep them? He thought as he looked at the two shaking girls. Turn around, he said softly, I have now marked you as my servants, you will listen to me from now on. No one except for me, not even Hilda or my father, can order you without my permission, understood? The girls nodded in response. They knew that they have already entered the tiger's den and there is nothing they can do. Tears began to well in their pretty eyes. Now, I need you to act as my pillows, as I am not used to sleeping in a new bed without my hug pillows. He said that, yawned, then headed to the grand bed and began to change his clothes. The girls were astonished. Hug pillows? Is this a new play, or is there something wrong in this guy's head? Come help this young master get dressed. How do you button this thing? His voice came to wake them out of their astonishment, so they looked at Victor, who already changed his pants but seemed to be having trouble putting on the pajamas shirt, so they quickly went and helped him with a heavy blush on the face. After finishing, Victor climbed onto the bed and ordered the girls to sleep one on each side. So they did that, nervously not knowing where to put their hands. Victor turned off the lights, then hugged the two girls and closed his eyes. And that's it. For the next 10 minutes, the girls were nervous, but after another few minutes, they heard him snore. Really, just sleep? Just like that? They thought concurrently. They were surprised and a little relieved, looking at each other's eyes. Now they can only go to sleep too. They have already reached this stage. What is the worst that could happen? So they closed their eyes to sleep. Victor secretly operated his token and used the seal's function to force them into a deep sleep. What he has to do next no one should see. Victor snapped his eyes open, then sat down, looking at the sleeping beauties by his sides. They were very beautiful, especially when they relaxed their anxious faces. Not as beautiful as my Lily though, he thought. As Lily was getting more beautiful by the minute after the ceremony. He carefully caressed their red hair. And thought, he has a choice to give up on them and let them go to Tom's side. This will allow him to avoid a very dangerous potential enemy. But he does not want to do that. He will never give up what is his, never again. So he will approach them slowly and make them fall in love with him, as he doesn't want to force them. He intends to keep them by his side for a long time, so he had to boil the frog slowly. As for Tom, he has already fabricated a good plan. Looking out of the window at a towering mountain on the horizon, he had a crazy idea. He remembered an accident in his past life, something that had nothing to do with him back then. This time he will use it to his advantage. He will dig a deep hole and let Tom fall in it smiling. He would not know what hit him. But those plans will have to wait until tomorrow. Now he will initiate his class for the first time and activate his skill. He did not want to be disturbed, and if the girls were awake it would cost him a lot. His level was too low for such a thing, so he made them sleep. I hope it was worth it, he told himself. He steadied himself, took a deep breath, and initiated his class. Chapter 24, Fate Weaver. Welcome Fate Weaver. X rank class. Initiated. Skills edited. Now can acquire Fate rank with appraisal. The Fate's fabric had already been weaved, but you have been granted the power to untangle its lines and rebuild your own destiny. Analyzing player fate. Fate, rank E++ raising. Skills available. Eyes of Destiny, X, activate and glimpse the fabric of reality, its woven lines would be revealed to you. Taxing on the user. Can only see if authority level is higher than target. Tolerance grows with level. Cost, 1 order point per target. Cooldown time, 24 hours. Destiny Shield, SSS, bad things happen, sometimes for no reason, sometimes as a punishment. Protects you from destiny backlash. May incurs additional costs or temporarily status. Grows with level. Cooldown time, 30 days. Fate Tracker, X, designate a subject to follow its strongest destiny line or an already designated one. Can only see if authority level is higher than target. Cannot use other fate skills while activated. Cost, 1 order point. Cooldown time, 24 hours. Fate Instinct, passive/random X, sometimes you might get a glimpse at the things fate has hidden. Chance depends on luck. Chance grows with level. Victor looked at the screen and smiled. Between all the classes that were available to him he chose this. He wanted to choose a class to awaken his bloodline. But when he saw it, he chose it immediately, as it was the only X-ranked class revealed to him. And because he knew some things that others didn't, in this world there exist very few X classes, and to get them one needs not just sufficient authority, but also luck and destiny. It is a ranking given to classes that have a direct impact on the world itself. Most of them are the last upgrade of a lower-leveled class, but not all. As far as he knows, only 5 were disclosed to the public, but in the Royal Library there were 10 recorded X-class players. He is sure he got this class because he changed his fate when he returned to the past. Just like how a soldier would usually get the choice for a warrior class. Fate and destiny are mysterious things. Victor only learned about it when he was trying to get the Black Book of Time. He had to work for a decade where the book was kept at the Royal Library. He was just a small librarian back then, but it was a job that many wished they could acquire, and it was granted to him by a friend as a favor repayment. There he could abuse his position to read many rare books, and some forbidden ones if he had a chance. He learned a lot about how this world worked, the rules, and the bugs that were discovered so far. But amongst the subjects that eluded the researchers was fate. It was intangible, but it was there. Like how some people would find treasures that suit them perfectly, how a player would level up at the right time to save the day, or how some players will awaken on their own without an artifact. It is like the world had already decided for some things to happen. The luck status seems to affect fate, but only in a limited way. If someone is fated to be hit by a rock, luck would just affect its size. Fate was not unchangeable. In the rules of this world, free will is above all, and fate itself is ever-changing. But there are usually set lines and trends. Changing those is hard, very hard. He who had fate turn on him many times in the past knows this well. Some people are fated for greatness while others are not. This class is mostly passive as it does not have any offensive skills in its first stages. But its existence by itself is the biggest offense. He was not bound by fate anymore, and he would be able to manipulate things to his advantage. He took a deep breath, then looking at the twins he activated his skill. Eyes of Destiny. Targets. Human female, +1. Human female, +1. Cost, 2 order point consumed. Revealing. Victor's eyes turned white then black as a yin-yang symbol slowly formed in them. Blood began to flow out of eyes and nose. But a confident smile slowly appeared on his face. He didn't care, because he saw it. The world became clear, like how when you look at a painting up close and be able to make out every brush stroke the painter did, every fiber in canvas was there in front of him. He looked at himself, but he was like a gray fog, many lines coming in and out of his body, but it felt intangible. This was the cost of having this class. He escaped the grasp of fate and his destiny became undefined, so he can't see himself. He knew he didn't have much time. This was just a glimpse and his body was too weak to handle it, so he quickly looked at his prime target, the twins. There. Bodies shone with golden light, and then he saw the small window above each of them. Fate, a rank. Talent, a rank. Now, he is sure, he must get them. A rank is the topmost rank any normal human can get. Of course, There exist air ranks, but those are reserved for special and heroic beings. Looking at them, he saw many colorful lines around them being revealed. They surrounded them like cocoons. These make the canvas of their destiny. He could make out only 5 special lines. Those are the ones affecting the twins for now. Looking any further, that was not possible for him, as the lines of fate are infinite and ever-changing, like the choices they make every day. The brighter is good fates, while the dark ones are harmful. He felt that. The first was a shiny blue line heading down towards the first floor. It was probably Hilda's, as she is a mother figure for them. The second was a pink one directed out of the window, towards the city. Victor knew that this must be their fated loved one, Tom. The third is his. It had a shallow gray color, still fragile and undefined. The fourth is a black evil thin line going into the mountains. It seems to intertwine with his and Tom's lines, and Victor had a good idea whose it was. As for the last, it was bright red, a blood connection. It was the thickest and the most robust of them all, and it was towards each other. This one is nearly impossible to break. He knew that. My fate with them is too shallow. I can't change their destiny by using force, or it would probably break, thought Victor. But he had a plan. He has to make his destiny thread bigger while destroying Tom's. There will be a chance tomorrow night, he thought, looking at the black ominous line. He felt his body can't take this any longer, so he quickly stopped his skill. Victor was very drained. He also felt a piercing pain in his eyes. This skill is too energy-consuming, he thought. So he slowly left the bed without alerting the fast-asleep girls and went to the bathroom, where he took a quick shower and cleaned all the blood before he returned to the bedroom. He climbed into the bed and began to inspect his status. There was no change, but looking at his order points, he saw there were 19 left. He has to find a way to get more, he thought. Order points are a mystery to many, but he knew that they are mainly used by skills that affect the world. In the past, he only heard that those with the X-level classes would accept them as part of their payment for their services. Now he knows how precious those are. But that is a subject for another day. He was now too tired, so he closed his eyes and fell into a deep sleep after hugging the 2 girls on his sides. Chapter 25, Morning Routine. When Victor woke up, it was 6:30 am. He was still hugging the 2 girls by his sides. They had already woken up but did not dare to move in fear of waking this young master up. They had blushed faces and aggrieved eyes. He nodded his head in satisfaction, then flashed them a warm smile. "Good morning, Mina. Good morning, Mana," he said. "Good morning, young master," they replied in low voice. He quickly let go of them and stretched out his stiff limbs. "Last night was amazing. I slept well thanks to the 2 of you," he said. "I want to reward you. Is there anything you want?" he asked. Mina and Mana looked at each other. To tell the truth, they had a very good night's sleep too, but they did not dare to say that. It was too shameful. "We does not dare ask the young master for anything," said Mina, while Mana nodded. It seems those 2 girls were taught to know their place, thought Victor. "Then I will find a suitable reward later," he said. "Now I have to take a shower. Prepare a good formal suit for me. While I do that, I will be going to the company today," he ordered. Then he entered the bathroom after grabbing a towel. It's not that he does not want them to help him in the bath, but that is still too early. He has to cook them in warm water. The twins looked at each other, then quickly went and opened the wardrobe to choose an outfit. Victor's clothes has arrived the previous day, and were arranged by the 2 of them before his arrival. The girls were really excited to choose his clothes for him. He was very charming, and dressing him was like a game. All the clothes here were from renowned brands. The cheapest one would cost 100 times the monthly allowance Hilda gave them. By the time they agreed on a good outfit for him, Victor had already left the bath with the towel wrapped around his waist. Looking at his shiny skin, exposed chest, and perfect abs, the girls blushed and quickly covered their eyes with their hands. Victor had been practicing the family's secret art since he was a child, and although he had no breakthroughs, his body was sculpted to perfection. In addition to that, his strength and charm attributes were double that of a normal teenager his age. So it has to show on his body. "What are you 2 doing? Quickly help me get dressed," he said, and quickly took off the towel. The girls did not dare look or move, and he could see that the blush had reached their ears. So he did not force them. He took the underwear they prepared and put it on, then he put on his pants. "What are you doing? Help me put on some shirts," he scolded them. The girls looked through their fingers, and when they saw that he already had his pants on, they gathered enough courage to help him put on the rest of the suit. While helping him, they couldn't help but touch his bare skin and tight muscles, which caused them to be very embarrassed and very curious. How can his muscles be so firm yet so delicate, they wondered. Is he a model? After that, under his orders, they helped him dry and comb his purplish silky gray hair. When they finished, Victor looked at himself in the mirror and nodded. These girls have good tastes, he thought. The girls stood there in their silk pajamas admiring their work of art, looking at their perfect young master. Can a man be this perfect, they thought. Not bad. I am quite satisfied, said Victor. Now go get yourself ready and prepare me some breakfast, he said. The girls nodded with faint smiles on their faces. They were quite proud of the job they have done, failing to notice that they are no longer as anxious near Victor. Then before leaving, they clumsily remembered to salute Victor, opened the door, and escaped from the room. When the door was just opened, Victor saw that there was an aggrieved girl in a veil standing there near the door, so after the girls left he called her in. Come on in, Lily, he said. Good morning, young master, she said, entering the room and saluting. Victor had a strange feeling when he looked at Lily just now. It is the same as last night when he spied at the twins' destiny. He couldn't see anything, but it was as if he could feel Lily's destiny connected to him. It was like flowing river. It seems his affinity with fate has increased, so he began to feel it naturally. Looks like he has to use it more in the future. As for why he could feel Lily, it is probably because he has a very strong destiny with her. When he saved her life, he changed her destiny and severed her death thread, which may have caused her new destiny to be intertwined with his. Then he helped her sever another thread when he killed Guy, and that strengthened their destiny. Looking at Lily, who stood there waiting for his commands, he noticed that her eyes were bloodshot. He could only sigh. This girl can be very stupid sometimes, he thought. Did you survey the mansion last night? Were there any abnormalities? He asked. None, young master, the buildings are clean, but, she said. What? He asked. Something was missing. This entire mansion has no cameras or surveillance devices, she said. Oh, I understand, we will add a few later. Victor nodded his head and said. It was probably Nick's idea. He might have wanted to use this place for some unclean business. Why did you not sleep last night? He suddenly questioned her. Lily's body shook and she lowered her head. Young master, I was worried about you being angry with me. I was afraid that you don't want me anymore, and you chose to sleep with the twins, she said with a few teardrops falling to the ground. Suddenly she felt Victor's arms surround her. He hugged her, bringing her close to his chest. Foolish girl, he said in a warm voice, I already told you, you are mine, and I will never give up on you, never. Lily hugged him harder and began to sob. Victor knew that Lily, despite her training and strong outer appearance, is very soft on the inside. She needs support, and he was her only one. When he kicked her out yesterday, it may have made her very worried. He might have to be more careful with her in the future. He hugged her and caressed her hair slowly. Then he asked out of nowhere, Did you report to my mother? The sobbing stopped and Lily shook a little in fear. The answer came after 1 whole minute of silence. I did, she said, but he already guessed that since he allowed it last night. Young master, you gave me permission, she said with an aggrieved voice. I know. But what did you tell her? Just that master arrived safely and what? Victor had a bad feeling. Lily hesitated, then answered, that master spent the night with 2 beautiful twins. Victor sighed. He knew why Lily told his mother about the twins. He knew that she would never reveal his secrets. The news of his last night's deeds has probably already reached his father's ear through Hilda, so this was not a secret. It was trivial for Victor to figure out the reason. Simply, Lily was jealous of them and wanted to vent her grievances. And the only one she could talk to is her future mother-in-law. Victor let go of Lily, went to the door, and closed it. Lily, although you did not do anything wrong, I have the feeling that your butt has been very itchy lately. Go put your hands on the bed and turn your back to me, he said to Lily, who just realized that she seems to have made her young master a little too much displeased. Victor has decided that Lily needs some education. Chapter 26, Linda. After carefully educating a certain snitch girl, Victor ordered her to sleep till noon so that she can be of help at the birthday party tonight. Then he went downstairs for some breakfast. He was greeted by an already set table and the beautiful twins who were dressed in light blue dresses. He nodded his head in satisfaction and went to the table where Mona quickly held the chair for him to sit at the head of the table. And after he ordered the twins to accompany him, they obediently sat down to eat. A few minutes later, Hilda entered the room with Leo, who had just arrived. Good morning, young master, they said. Good morning. What was your name? Right, Leo, did you have breakfast yet? Victor looking at them, he asked. No, young master, Leo said while looking at the table full of delicacies, and the beautiful twins sitting there. He could barely hold his saliva. Victor nodded his head. Hilda, take Leo to the kitchen and prepare a glass of milk and some cereals for him, he said. We can't have him driving on an empty stomach. Hilda smiled slightly then signaled the dejected Leo to follow her while the twins couldn't hide their laughter. This young master is a bully, they thought, but his next question took them by surprise. What are your plans for today? He asked the twins. Other than our friend's birthday party, there is nothing. We may go shopping for gifts in the afternoon, Mina said. Okay, then you will accompany me to the company, Victor said. Lily did not sleep last night so she can't follow him. And he needs to increase his bond with the girls. The girls looked at each other with some uneasiness. Yes, young master, they replied. Young master, may I inquire which company you mean? Asked Mina timidly. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I am now the CEO of Horizons Media, you know it, don't you? He said with a smile. Ah, both of the twins said simultaneously. Young master means the company who produced the current hit movie Dragon Hero 3, where John Sigma works. Yes, if you don't want to come with me I can understand that. Don't force yourselves, he said with a pondering face. No, young master, it's an honor to accompany you there, they said with a pleading smile. Which little girl does not have a dream of visiting such a huge media company? Perhaps they would get a chance to meet some of their idol stars and get their autograph there. Okay then, finish your breakfast then get ready, Victor said. After another 30 minutes, Victor left the mansion with the twins, who changed into fashionable identical red t-shirts and blue ripped jeans. Leo was already sitting in the car, looking a little aggrieved. But when he saw the twins, he changed into a professional handsome driver mode. But they could see him secretly glancing at their legs every now and then. After Victor got seated with the twins by his sides, Leo started the car as he looked at the back seat with envious eyes. I want to be like him too, he thought. Sitting in the moving car, Victor began to inspect the twins. He noticed something yesterday. Although they had the same looks, they had opposite personalities and different air surrounding them. Mina was the outgoing cheerful kind while Mana was the introverted silent one. He rarely heard her voice. Soon they reached the highway. Leo, who was driving the car, looked at Victor in the mirror to find that he had put his hand around the waists of the blushing twins. He could only shoot him an envious gaze. Why does this guy have two girls around him today? He changes girls every day, can't he simply sit alone? Leo wanted to have some men time with Victor so he can get close to him. Victor didn't care about Leo nor his thoughts. He was looking at a high mountain to the right of the road while lost in thoughts. If he played his card right he might solve the twins' problem once and for all and get a very powerful servant on the way. Suddenly there was a honking sound from the back that broke Victor away from his thoughts. A pink convertible sports car shot like a bullet next to them. If not for Leo's timely maneuver there would have been an accident. The car did not slow down. It just continued its path on the highway as if nothing happened and soon went out of sight. FK them, don't they know how to drive? I will report them when we reach the company. Then he said to Victor, don't worry young master, I will make sure to break the leg of whoever was driving that car. He failed to notice the murderous look in Victor's eyes. Victor knew who that was. But before he could tell Leo not to bother doing anything, Mina, who has also recognized the car's driver, answered. Mr. Leo, I think that would be pointless. The one who was driving the car is Miss Linda Cross, the daughter of the current appointed Governor Otto Cross, she said with a firm voice. Are you sure? Leo asked with an uncertain voice. If it was that girl, he can't do anything to her. Yes, I am familiar with that car. She said. Do you know her? Victor suddenly interrupted. Not personally, young master. She is a very famous person in Vane City and has a lot of followers on social media. She answered truthfully. Tell me what you know about her, he asked in a slightly cold voice. Well, she is both a very powerful and very benevolent woman, although she tends to act a bit arrogantly most of the time. She occasionally appears on television, like when she donated millions to an orphanage last month. She is very rich and she started a successful cosmetics company when she was still in middle school. Mina answered with a worshipping look in her eyes. Linda was one of her idols. She has many dedicated fan clubs on the internet and in real life she is our age, can you believe that? And I heard she would be attending the same high school we are going to attend. She added with a smiling face, then looked at Victor. But young master, I know what you are thinking. Although she is very beautiful, she already has a fiancé, and the rumors are that he is from a family that is even more rich and influential than hers, she said as if she understood her young master's intentions. Oh, a fiancé? Victor asked with a cold voice. Chapter 27, Fiancé. Oh, a fiancé? Victor asked the twins in a cold voice. According to rumors, he is a perverted and depraved young man. It is said, he sleeps with 2 maids every night and spends his days in brothels. In addition, he tried to rape his new maid, and because she refused him, he almost killed her. And I heard he once tried to force Linda to do it with him and 3 other men at the same time but was saved by a friend at the last moment. Poor Miss Linda has to marry such a shameful man because his family can make hers go bankrupt and her father would be demoted in seconds. She has no choice. I hope that evil fiancé dies in the arms of some prostitute so that Miss Linda would be free. Mina said with hatred spilling from hers and Mana's eyes. As if they were wishing they can strangle such a beast fiancé and save the noble Miss Linda. But what surprised them was the sudden smack upside their heads. It made them almost hit the front seat. Ah, why, young master, they said while looking at Victor with tearful eyes. In truth, Victor did not want to smack them, but these 2 fools were cursing at him. Let me tell you a little secret, he said with a cold voice, I am your sweet Miss Linda's evil fiancé. Ah! Both Mina and Mana screamed and quickly pulled back from Victor's sides as if they were avoiding the plague. Calm down, he ordered them in a firm voice. And you, focus on your driving. He yelled at Leo, who was so agitated he was about to lose control of the car. After about 2 minutes in silence, Victor began to speak after a long sigh. You shouldn't trust rumors, most of them are not true. Although I don't have to tell you the truth, I feel that I should make things clear. He said. But what I am going to say now will stay between us, understood? The girls looked at each other and nodded. You two, Victor said to the sweating Leo, who stretched his neck wanting to hear the conversation in the back. Yes, sir, he said, while big drops of sweat were forming on his forehead. Well, it is not really a secret, but you must know that my family forbids sexual relationships before becoming an adult. And my adulthood ceremony was the day before yesterday. So how can attempts to rape Linda, let alone spend time in a brothel? He said to the skepticizing girls. As for the raping a maid rumor, that one has some truth to it. But she was the one who wanted to seduce me, and I was young back then. Luckily, my father caught us in time, or else I would have been kicked out of the family. As a punishment, he sent me to an all-boys boarding school. I could only sleep with 3 other stinky guys in a dormitory most of the year. He continued with an aggrieved voice while remembering his roommates. I only met Linda 3 times anyway. And that was with our parents. As for the engagement, it was her mother, Amelia Cross, who begged my grandmother for help before, as she needed help due to some internal turmoil in her family, and she promised to be my family's ally in return. My grandmother asked her for a guarantee so that she would not burn the bridge after crossing, so that woman packaged her daughter and offered her to be a wife to any heir in my family, and my grandmother chose me as I was only older than Linda by a few months and we were suitable for each other. You have to understand something. The one who truly holds the power in her family is her mother. She belongs to a branch of a family as strong as mine. As for her father Otto Cross, he is just a facade. But young master, doesn't that mean she was a hostage? Mana asked in a timid voice. Yes and no, while in theory, she was like that, the truth is, women from noble families rarely have a say in their marriage and would be sometimes offered for some old men to be concubines, especially a beautiful girl from a branch family. So for her to marry me, and as an official wife, was a very good deal. According to my father, her mother was very pleased at that time. The girls were a little shocked. They did hear of such practices. Arranged marriages between big families have been practiced in old times and appeared frequently in novels and dramas. But they didn't know that they continued to these times. Victor looked at them, then continued. It was all good until I was about 10 years old. Due to me being sickly, I didn't have a good standing in the family and soon fell out of favor. It was expected that I will not inherit anything and be kicked out of the family sooner or later. Seemingly, Linda and her mother heard about that and began to have second thoughts about this engagement. After the incident with the maid, she took the opportunity and came to see my grandmother. Using the incident as the reason, she requested the change of the engagement target to another heir, but my grandmother firmly refused. Changing the engagement is not good for the family's image and would cause some internal conflicts as Amelia now holds an important position in her family. After that, the rumors defaming me began to circulate. So who do you think is spreading those rumors? Ah, young master, that. Miss Linda would never. The twins did not seem to know what to say. They didn't know if they could believe Victor. I don't really care if you believe me or not, and Linda would never confirm any of these rumors. She dares not. But you two are my maid, and you are now siding with someone who you barely knew against your young master. You should be ashamed of yourselves. He said and caused them to lower their heads in shame. Well, not all the rumors are false, anyway. He said with an evil smile. I did sleep with the two of you last night. Suddenly the car jerked. Poor Leo could not swallow that last piece of information. He lost his attention for one moment, and almost hit the car in the front. He quickly adjusted the car and made a sharp turn to the right while pressing the brakes, but they did not seem to work. In the next instant, the car turned over and began to roll at a high speed, crashing into the highway's traffic barriers. Chapter 28, Troublesome. For half a second there, Victor felt as if an ethereal black thread was strangling him. He knew something has caused his fate instinct skill to activate, but it was too late as the car started to roll, but thanks to his heightened attributes he knew what he had to do. He quickly grabbed the twins, who were frozen in shock, and held them close to his chest. And the next moment when the car crashed he used his legs to push himself to the opposite side and absorb the shock. Luckily, the car finally stopped, and although it has been heavily scrapped on the outside, aside from the broken and cracked windows the interior was relatively intact. But Victor quickly noticed a wisp of smoke coming out from the front panel, so without thinking, he quickly tried to open the door, but it did not budge. He knew something was wrong. This was no mere accident, someone was targeting him. He took a deep breath and used his leg to kick the door with all of his strength, and it broke right away and was sent flying across the highway. He quickly left the car and moved away while holding the twin. Looking back he could see that Leo has already squeezed himself out of the car through a broken window and ran to his side. He had blood all over his face and he held his hand to his chest in pain. But before he could say anything, boom! The car exploded and sent everyone flying into the air. Victor opened his eyes and looked at the blue sky above. Despite the ringing in his ears, he could hear the sound of an ambulance's siren getting near. He got up and sat down slowly while looking around him. He was sitting on the dirt on the side of the highway not too far from the burning vehicle. The twins and Leo were unconscious on the ground next to him. He could see that they were breathing, and other than the bloodied Leo, the others probably had only some light concussions. He looked at himself and could see that his clothes were ripped, and he had some cuts on his hands and forehead, but nothing serious. He would probably heal in the next 2 hours due to his inhuman strength and recovery. But what just happened took him by surprise. A luxury car like this would not fail just like that. And would definitely not explode due to such a minor accident. He felt at the moment of the crash that malicious fate line trying to strangle him. It was intentional. He must question Leo to make sure, but he was pretty sure someone tampered with this car. And he had a good idea who that person might be. A few minutes later, a police car, a firefighter truck, and an ambulance were parked next to the wreckage of the car. A young policewoman, who had a heroic look, blonde hair, and a very tight uniform, approached Victor with the paramedics and stood there watching while her partner, a fat middle-aged cop, went to check on the exploded car, which was now covered with white foam. Victor was terrified for the first time since his return when he saw her. He knew this young woman, her name was Lee Smith, and she was a major pain in the ass. She was a very good, dedicated, and commendable police officer. But she tends to get her nose into many things with absolutely no regard to the consequences. She got her police station into many troubles before. But she had a very powerful background, and no one dared to do anything to her. In the end, they decided to put her in the traffic police, where she would not be able to create much trouble. But he reassured himself, as he did nothing wrong this time. She has nothing against him. But he didn't want to stay with her for long, as she was like a dog, and could smell trouble a mile away. The paramedics checked on him and found that he didn't suffer anything serious, so they asked him to go for some checks in the hospital later, and the same for the twins, who regained consciousness pretty quickly. Apart from some light bruises, they were fine. Although their clothes got a little dirty, it added to their ripped jeans style. They looked at Victor with a grateful gaze. If he did not grab them and pull them out of the car at the right time, they would have been dead or seriously injured at the very least. As for poor Leo, apparently, He suffered some broken ribs and a serious concussion and was still unconscious, so the paramedics had to take him to the hospital. While watching the ambulance take Leo and leave, Victor heard a voice from the back. "Are you the owner of this car?" "Name." "Occupation?" Lee asked him coldly after seeing that he began to look at her with a perverted look. He seems fine after having such an accident, she wondered. "No, this is my company's car. My name is Victor White, a student and a CEO," he said with a proud voice. "White? You look similar to him. Do you know a Nick White?" she asked as her voice got a lot colder. What did that guy do to her, Victor wondered. "Ah, yes, he is my stepbrother, but I never met him before," he said. "Do you know that your brother is a suspect in a human trafficking case?" she asked him while examining his expression, looking for a sign of him lying. "No, I told you I never met him. If he is a criminal, why don't you arrest him, officer?" he asked. But she didn't answer but looked at her partner, who returned after examining the car. "Found anything?" "The car would need to go to the lab for testing. There were no explosives, but if someone rigged the engine, we won't be able to tell straight away, but..." The cop took a half-burnt plastic bag containing some unknown substance. "I found this. It is a new drug on the streets. They call it the tiger's breath. It should be the driver's, as it was in the clothes compartment." "Damn you, Leo," Victor screamed silently. "This was a recreational drug, and it was a forbidden substance. You three come back with me to the police station. I need your statements," Lee said. If he went with her, it would take him at least a few hours to get out. But there will be a problem when questions the twins. The twins will not reveal any secrets, but they are still too young and inexperienced. And this woman was very nosy. She had something against young masters like him, and she would sniff the scent of any misdemeanor a mile away. He is sure she would find an excuse to keep him locked up for at least a few days. He could already see that from the glares she was shooting at him. So he has to find a way out. "Ah, yes, officer, can we come by to the station later? This is just a normal accident, and I am feeling very hurt, and I need to go lie down at home," he said, not wanting to get the police involved. "No, there are drugs involved, so I would need your statements." She shot him a gaze, then looked at the twins behind him. Her instinct was telling her that this young master was not a good one. "I assure you, officer, there is no need to. You would never find my fingerprints over those, and it was not my car, to begin with. This is only the second time I have ever been in it. I have an important meeting that I need to attend. And I didn't commit any crime. You can't just take me," he pleaded. Then he looked at her partner. "Sir, can you help us here?" He looked at Lee. "He has a point, and we have his address. No need to make things complicated," he said, as he could guess that Victor was an influential figure and he didn't want to make unnecessary trouble. "But he is the brother of Nick White, he might know about," she whispered. "And you are no longer on that case. Didn't you cause enough trouble?" he pleaded to her. She didn't understand how dangerous this White family was, but he did. "If you don't back down and let me take him in, I will call my dad and make him fire you," she threatened. So the cop could only flash Victor an apologizing look and back down. "Now, you have to come with me. I am suspecting that you might have something with drug trafficking. If you don't come voluntarily, I would arrest you," she turned to Victor and threatened unreasonably. While watching the reaction of the twins behind him, Victor knew that no matter what he said, this crazy chick will take him with her, so he did what every responsible young master does. "Then, I will have to inform the company that I will be late. I can't have them wait for me," he said in a firm voice, making her nod her head as he sounded convincing. He quickly took his gilded phone, which had a cracked screen but was still functional, and called a number that was given to him by George the previous day. Lee turned her head as if she didn't care, but Victor knew that she was listening very closely to what he would say. "Ah, hello, uncle. Yes, I am Victor White. Yes, I arrived yesterday. I know, and that is why I am calling. I just had an accident on the highway. No, everything is fine. It's just that I was delayed by an unreasonable young police officer. She insisted that I should go to the station with her." "Yes, precisely." "Okay." Then he looked at Lee and handed her phone without forgetting to flash a charming smile. "It's for you," he said. But Lee did not take the phone but kicked it using her slender legs right out of Victor's hand into the ground. "I don't care who you called, and no matter who they are, or what they said. You must come with me to the station. Now get moving," she said unreasonably. He looked at her and smiled. This idiot will get herself killed someday, he thought. "Fine, I am all yours, Miss Police Officer. But don't regret it, he noted. I will not, but you will. How dare you threaten a police officer? She snapped at him. She picked up his phone from the ground and put it in an evidence bag, then ordered him to follow her to her car, where she asked him to get into the back with the twins, then changed her mind and asked her partner to sit in the back while Victor would sit in front, beside her. She will interrogate them alone later and find out about all the dirty things he had done. Maybe she would be able to find a piece of incriminating evidence this time and lock this idiot with that snake brother of his for good. But just as they were about to get into the car, Lee's phone rang. Chapter 29, A Phone Call. Harold Smith was busy reading an important document when his private phone's ringing sound startled him. Looking at it, he saw that it was an unknown number. But still, he chose to answer. In his line of work, he can't afford to miss an important call. Hello, he said. Hello, uncle. A confident young man answered from the other side. May I know who is it? He asked. Yes, I am Victor White. Ah, young Master Victor, your father has already informed me that you would be living in Vane City. Are you here already? He said politely while remembering Master Theodore's stern order to take care of his son who will be living in Vane City. As the city's police chief, he knew some secrets, held a responsibility toward the safety of the family's heirs under his jurisdiction. Yes, I arrived yesterday. That's good. If I can help you, young master, with anything, I am always ready. I know, and that is why I am calling. I just had an accident on the highway. Ah, are you all right? He asked in a frightened voice. If anything were to happen to this young master, especially on the day of his arrival, he might lose his head. Or worst, his position. No, everything is fine. It's just that I was delayed. By an unreasonable young police officer. She insisted that I should go to the station with her. There is only one young traffic officer who came to his mind. But he hoped it was not her. Can you see her tag? Is her name Lee Smith? Yes, precisely. F. He cursed. Young master, don't worry, I will fix this right away. Please get her on the phone. Okay. This is for you. He could hear the young master talking to his daughter, but the next moment there was a sound of a crash and the call ended. F. He could guess what had just happened. This daughter of his is getting more unreasonable as she grew up. So he quickly fumbled with his phone to make a call, but due to the shaking of his hand, it took him 2 full minutes to dial his daughter's phone number. She answered after a few beeps. And her sweet voice calmed him a little bit. Maybe he can salvage the situation, he thought. Hi Daddy, is there anything? I am busy arresting a filthy criminal down here and I will call you when I finish, she said, intending to hang up. Is his name Victor White? He asked. Ah, yes. He didn't do anything illegal, right? Let him go right now. That's an order. He can't be soft with this girl anymore, or she would be the end of him. No, he didn't, but Daddy, he is very suspicious. I am sure he has some nasty secrets. She said in a soft voice. Look, if you don't let him go right now, I will fire you from the police for disobeying orders. He didn't want to yell at her. But some things must be done. He can't simply tell her how horrible this guy's family is. She would probably naively attempt to arrest them and end up dead with the rest of the police squad in the process. Okay, fine, she said. He could hear the aggrieved voice of his daughter and that made his heart bleed. But before he could say anything she hung up the phone, and he knew she was very angry with him. But he was sure she would do the right thing. Probably. Chapter 30, Another cliché situation. Lee hung up the phone and looked at Victor with murderous eyes. You may go, but I will be keeping an eye on you, she said with a cold voice. Your connections can save you today, but can they when I catch you red-handed? She thought naively. Then she got into the car with her partner and drove away while making sure that enough dirt was blown into Victor's face and clothes. F you, Victor could not take it anymore and cursed at the back of her speeding car. It seems he has to take care of that chick sooner or later. Now he needs to get a ride. Where was his phone? He looked around. Young master, it seemed that cop took it, said Mona as she was observing what just happened. F her. He screamed. When he gets his hands on Lee, he will make sure to take revenge for his phone. She was probably planning to extract some information from it. But she would defiantly fail. Family devices are not something amateurs could manipulate. And he needed a new phone anyway. He looked at the Mona. Give me your phone, he said as he needed to call Hilda or the company to fetch him a ride. Sorry, young master. Our phones were still in our purses in the car when it blew up, they said with an aggrieved voice. Victor and the twins were in trouble now, as they had no phone and no money, so they could only walk. I should have forced Lee to give me a ride, he thought. Looking around him at the road signs, he found out that he was not too far away from the company. So signaled the girls to follow him and began to walk towards it. He lived in this city long enough to navigate it blindly. It took them about half an hour of walking under the hot sun to reach the towering building of Horizons Media. Victor was okay, but the girls were very tired. But, just as they were going in, they were stopped by the 2 guards at the entrance. Only employees and people who have business inside allowed in, one guard with a big belly said while looking at Victor, who looked like a beggar with his tattered suit and dirty face. And we are not accepting models right now. The audition was over yesterday, he continued toward the twins, as they stood behind Victor. Victor was not in a good mood to argue with a guard, but he did not want to create unnecessary trouble. My name is Victor White, and I have an appointment with Ms. Carla Rice, and I look this way because I just had a car accident on the way here, Victor clarified. He didn't say anything about being the CEO as he was too young and would make them laugh. The guard did not budge. You have an appointment with the vice president? You must be kidding. How can an esteemed person like Ms. Carla see a beggar like you? Now shoo, the guard dismissed him again. Confirm it with the front desk, it would only take a second, Victor said angrily. I said, get out of here or I would call the police. The guards replied in a cold voice. Victor frowned. This guard is too unreasonable. Was it someone instructing him? He thought. Victor did not waste any more breath on the guards. So he just did the thing no one expected him to do. He slapped both of the guards before they could react and made them crash into the glass door behind them. And could hear the twins gasp behind him. He did not hold his hand, and those guards will have to eat through a pipe for the rest of their lives. He needed to kill some chickens to scare the monkeys. If he didn't make some trouble, some idiots will look down at him. So he strode confidently into the company's lobby with the twins, who looked at each other then followed him. In the lobby, the receptionist, who was stunned by the ruckus on the door, quickly grabbed the phone intending to call the police, but Victor's strong hand suddenly pressed hers and stopped her from making the call. Looking at him, the receptionist was surprised because she had just seen him at the door. When did he arrive next to her? Back down, or I will call the police. Do you know that you are committing a crime by trespassing on company property and making trouble here? She threatened. I will not say this twice, he said with a cold voice. Call Carla, your vice president, and tell her Victor White has arrived and is waiting for her in the lobby. I already have an appointment with her, he said while taking his hand off the receptionist's arm. She looked at him with suspicious eyes, hesitating whether to call the police or just inform the vice president. But in the end, she decided to consult the vice president first to confirm what he said, as she has already seen that a few security guards were making their way to the lobby. So she raised the phone under Victor's cold gaze and made a call to the VP's office and told the secretary what just happened. Then she nodded her head and hung up. Looking up, she saw that Victor was standing there with his hands in his pockets, while more than 10 security guards with batons were glaring at him and waiting for her to end her call. Miss Susan, the vice president's secretary, has informed me that Mr. Victor White does have an appointment with Ms. Carla today. However, she is already in an important meeting and can't meet him, so she requested that he waits in the lobby for her, she said. That made the guards back down a little, but they did not leave the lobby and just stood near the walls watching for any trouble. Oh, okay, then I will use your phone to make a quick call, Victor said and began to use the phone on the front desk without waiting for the receptionist's response. She looked at him angrily but said nothing. First, he called the mansion, and after a few rings, Hilda answered. So he told her that he had an accident on the road and assured her of his and the twins' safety. Then he told her to ask Lily to get him his credentials, credit cards, and some clothes, and come meet him at the company. Then he called Harold, the police chief. He have already memorized his phone number the moment he looked at it when he called him earlier. He hanged up only after saying a few words. It's me, Victor. Ignore all the calls about Horizons Media for today. He understood that Carla intended to show him who was in charge here, but after today's accident, he was not in the mood for these stupid social tactics, so he will make his fists do the talking. He intends to use her to spread his reputation as an overbearing young master. No matter what type of ruckus he makes, it is his company anyway. So he put his plan into action. Making this young master wait, you would have to pay the price. he shouted with an arrogant voice. Then, under the surprised look of everyone in the lobby, Victor grabbed the phone and threw it at the first guard in the face. Then started to wrestle with the rest of the guards. The truth is, it can't be called wrestling nor a fight but a beating. Because after he grabbed the baton from the first guard who attacked him, he used it to beat all the others in mere seconds. Victor hit them hard on purpose, as he knew from his previous life that those guys were not a good lot, and he intended to replace them anyway. So after 1 whole minute of misery, there were 10 blood bags wearing security guard uniforms crawling on the floor with broken hands and feet. That made the receptionist and the employees present in the lobby faces turn white, and they began to shake in fear. Then one by one they took out their phones in secret and began calling for the police. Victor already knew they would do, but he didn't care. No police officer would come near here today. He signaled the horrified twins to follow him and strode up the stairs. He knew the layout of this building like the back of his hand. If that BCH did not come downstairs to meet me, then I will go up to her and kick her and make her know her place. When the receptionist saw him going upstairs, she wanted to quickly inform the vice president and the security manager about what had happened and warn them about Victor. But she discovered that her entire desk was already smashed up by Victor. Chapter 31, Not on the Face. All along the company's corridors, many employees and guests were wondering about the identity of this young man dressed in rags. He seemed to blow any security guard who stood in his way to the ground. Are they shooting a new movie? They thought. The twins who followed him were very embarrassed, especially since some of the people on those corridors were known idols whom they admire. But they did not have the face to ask them for their autographs in this situation. There was also another thought in the twins' minds. The young master is not that muscular. We have already seen his body. They thought with blushed faces, how can he be this strong? Is it an act, or are all of those guards here rubbish? It didn't take a long time for them to reach the VP's office, where a hot secretary in fashionable glasses stopped Victor with a stern look. Who do you think you are? How dare you trespass on the vice president's office? I will call your manager to fire you right away. How could you dress like that? This is a reputable company. She yelled one idiotic sentence after another, seeing him entering and heading towards the VP's room with no regard to her. So he stopped, turned toward her, and greeted her face with a heavy slap. It sent her crashing with her shattered glasses onto the floor. He knew this one too. Her name was Susan, a vain woman who was one of his girlfriends in his previous life. She swore that he was the love of her life. But after he was kicked out of the family, and ended up poor, she left him the next day and hooked up with another guy, whom she seemed to have been keeping as a spare tier. After that, she made sure to taunt him and humiliate him every time she saw him. This slap is something he didn't have the chance to do in his previous life. Then, under the shocked eyes of the twins, he turned around and kicked the VP's room door open and walked right in. We must never anger the young master. He is too overbearing, they thought. It was a grand room with huge glass windows and a big meeting table in the center. Here the company's top executives and managers were having a meeting headed by a beautiful blonde woman who seemed to be in her 30s. Carla Rice, the vice president of Horizons Media, was a legendary figure. She had both the brains and the beauty. And thanks to her brilliant business strategies, she took the company from the brink of bankruptcy to become a prominent actor in the movies and entertainment scene. That was the official story anyway. She was also one of the many concubines of Victor's father, Theodorus von Weiss. And Victor knew better than anyone that she was just another foolish money-loving snake. Victor did not speak at all. Instead, he walked straight to Carla's seat and began slapping her on the face under the shocked gazes of the surrounding managers. A few of them quickly reacted and tried to catch him, but they ended up on the floor with broken noses, so no one dared intervene after that. But they could only order repeatedly for him to stop. How dare why? Ah! Stop! You can't. As for Carla, she began to threaten him first, but in the end, he could only hear her saying one thing. Please, no, not on the face. So he stopped and looked at his masterpiece. Her cheeks were bloated like watermelons, and her lips were puffed like balloons. Even her mother would not recognize her after such remodeling. And this was the result of him keeping his hand. If not, she would be picking up her teeth from the floor. Slapping her to this degree can be accepted as a punishment, but acting any more than that, his father would blame him. He threw her to the floor and sat on her chair facing the horrified executives who wanted to say something but dared not. He could see some of them were using their phones and calling for help under the table and repeatedly looking at the door, expecting the police to burst in at any moment. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Victor White. I am the son of Theodore White, and I am as of today the new CEO of this company, he said in an arrogant tone while rising his legs and putting them on the table. The executives looked at each other for confirmation, then at Clara, who stayed silent. But when she looked at Victor's threatening eyes, she dared not make more trouble and knew that no matter what, she would not be able to shake him after this. So she could only comply. Yes, everyone, she said with a puffed face, I wanted to hold this meeting to welcome the new CEO, she added in a shaking voice. She didn't expect this guy to be so overbearing. She needs to change her plans, it seems. So everyone looked at each other, then one by one began to stand up and salute Victor respectfully. As for the ones who lost teeth on the ground, they were feeling aggrieved as they had just got beaten for nothing. Young master, may I know why did you enter like that and began hitting the vice president? Asked one senior manager. That's a question for her. Victor looked at Carla and asked, do you know why? Answer, he ordered. Carla hesitated a little, wondering how to phrase it. It is my fault for not perfectly explaining your arrival to the employees and that made them act disrespectfully toward the young master, she said at last. Don't worry, young master, they will all be punished. I didn't punish you for that, said Victor, while shaking his head. I punished you because you did not come to pick me up yesterday from the airport. You made young master lose his face in front of his maid. This made Carla open her mouth in astonishment, not knowing what to say. Is this young master really that unreasonable, or is he an idiot? Maybe there was no need for her to act at all. He would probably ruin his own image by himself sooner or later. Then Victor turned to the astonished managers. Now, about the farce in the company entrance, that will be your next job assignment. Before I leave the company today, I need you all to figure out who did it and then punish whoever participated. Now go do your jobs. He ordered them. They were not idiots and quickly understood what he meant, so they looked at Carla with blaming eyes. It is all your fault, they thought. Then they stood up, intending to return to their posts. Chapter 32 Arya. Just as the executives were about to leave the meeting room, the door was pushed open by a valiant young woman with bright purple hair and a fashionable office lady outfit. She entered the room with 20 guards with firearms following her. It seems the help they requested has arrived. Victor looked at her but said nothing, just smiled warmly. And before she could say anything, one of the smart managers quickly introduced Victor to avoid serious problems. Miss Arya, you are right on time. This is Mr. Victor White, the new CEO of our company. Arya looked at Victor with her clear eyes and seemed to have recognized him, especially his purplish hair, so she turned to the guards and ordered them to stop. But they didn't listen to her but looked to the back where a burly man entered behind them and looked at the situation, then ran straight to Carla and checked her situation. Then he looked at Victor and ordered. Take him down. Stop, Carla interrupted him. You can't touch him. We will talk later, now help me go to the infirmary, she said to him in a soft voice. He nodded his head and gestured the guards to be dismissed, then helped Carla walk out. Arya also ran to them and tried to help, but Carla seemed to dislike her because as soon as she stood up, she quickly pushed her away, then she quickly staggered out of the room with that man. Victor looked at that guy with murderous eyes. His name was Jacob Rice, the head of security in the company and Carla's brother. He was also the culprit behind today's accident. Back then Jacob once executed this same operation successfully against an opposing company chairman, and Victor was responsible for covering him back then. So the moment he had an accident today, he knew who was behind it. Victor knew him very well. He was a snake who would not stop at anything in order to fulfill his desires. He was probably afraid that Victor's taking over the company would reveal how much money he embezzled with his sister. So he tried to get rid of him. But Jacob didn't understand anything about the family and didn't know that if something bad were to happen to Victor, his head would be chopped without a trial. Victor will not let him go. The reason he didn't want the police involved was that he plans to get rid of Jacob by himself. Soon the rest of the employees left the room one by one, leaving the twins who were standing next to a wall, while holding each other's hands. They were probably wishing they weren't there. The good image they just built about their young master seems to be crumbling, and Arya, who kept standing there, waiting for the last executive to close the door on his way out. Arya White has seen the young master, Arya said as she bowed to Victor per family protocol. Aren't you going to call me brother? He asked warmly. Don't joke with me, young master. This one knows her place, she answered coldly. Arya White was his half-sister and Carla's daughter. Although she had purple hair, she did not have the family's bloodline, so she was not considered a legitimate daughter. This meant she could only address the heirs by their titles, as she was not considered a part of the family. Victor looked at her beautiful face and remembered how many times she aided him in his previous life. She was one of the few people who he truly trusts and admires. Young master, don't you think you went a little too rough on my mother? She blamed him politely. Don't play this game with me. If I had to punish her for her disrespect, according to the family's rules, she would lose an arm at least. You know that well, he said. Arya knew that this was the truth, and indeed Victor went easy on her mother. And although Carla didn't treat her well, she was her mother after all, so she looked angrily at Victor. Victor was amused, so continued to stare at her face, and that made her soon a little bit nervous. She have heard certain rumors about this younger brother. So she decided to end this pointless confrontation. Young master, why don't you let me lead you to your office? She asked, intending to divert his attention. Victor nodded his head and gestured for her to lead the way. And so she did. And after following her with the twins to the upper floor, she led him into a spacious office. It had a huge window overlooking Vane City and was furnished with a luxurious desk and leather chairs and couches, in addition to many famous paintings on the walls. Young master, this was esteemed father's room, but now you are the CEO, so it would naturally be yours. It has already been thoroughly cleaned yesterday, she said as she showed him the room. Good, I don't want to know or see any shreds of evidence of father's hobbies here, he said, and that caused Arya to blush as she knew precisely what he was talking about. Don't worry, everything here is new, young master, she said while intending to leave. But his next words took her by surprise. You work here as your mother's second secretary, right? From now on, you will be my secretary, he said. No, young master, I can't, that's impossible. If you force me, I would rather quit. She firmly refused, as she didn't want to be left alone with him in the same room. If the twins were not here, she would have already fled. She have heard about him, her brother was a beast, she thought. And with no other words, she turned around and walked towards the door intending to flee. Don't think I don't know what you are thinking about. But let me warn you, if you don't come work for me, I would expose to father that the one behind all the company's new plans and its recent revival was you and not your idiot mother, he said. If he knew that, he may fire your mother right away, and maybe even punish her for scamming him. You know how much father hates to be lied to, he added. Arya stopped. How did he know that? She questioned herself. But she didn't know the answer. But it was the truth. Her mother's management made the company near bankruptcy, so she, who was a business school student, offered to help her mother fix the situation, and out of desperation, Carla agreed. To everyone's surprise, the company became like a phoenix rising from the ashes. Carla, who was the VP and the actual manager of the company, took all the credit for herself and posed as a business genius, while her daughter Arya chose to remain silent and support her mother. Victor knew what Arya was thinking, and he also knew that she was a very sentimental girl. Although her mother treated her harshly, she still loved her and did everything in her power to help her. He looked at her back and continued. I will not be here in the company most of the time, and I have no interest in management. So if you are my secretary, I would leave all these troublesome things to you, and you only have to consult me about company plans once in a while. This made Arya choose to compromise, as she would not be spending much time with him, and it would be the end of her mother if he exposed her. Okay, I agree, but you have to promise me to leave my mother alone and that you would never lay your hands on me. She turned around to face him again and said nervously. She had to make things clear. Okay, I agree for the first condition, but tell Carla to not cross my line. As for your second condition, as long as you don't want me to, I will never touch you. I swear on my honor as a young master, he said with an evil smile that sent shivers down hers and the twins' spines. As if I would ever want that, she thought with disgust. Now, does the young master need anything else? She asked him. A few things, he said. First, inform the reception that my assistant will arrive here later, so lead her straight to my office. And second, let someone prepare some cold drinks for me and my maids. We just had a long walk in the sun, he said as he stretched his limbs on his chair. Understood. What is your third order? Arya asked, then shot the twins an inspecting glance. She was wondering what was their relationship with this perverted brother of her. You might not know, but I just had an accident on the way here. And I have reasons to believe that someone may have tampered with the car I was taking. You can ask the driver Leo about that. He should be recovering in some hospital. Send him some flowers and a fruits basket in my name. What I need you to do is to investigate who did it. He said to Arya, who shivered a little. She know exactly who would do such a stupid thing. Ah, and get me a list of those guards who disobeyed you earlier, then fire them all, no matter who is behind them. This is an executive order. He said he intends to have them crippled later. Those guys were not a good bunch. He knew that from first-hand experience. Understood. I will see to it immediately. Arya nodded, before quickly leaving the room as if she was fleeing. She was going to arrange for that stupid uncle of hers to leave the country to protect him. But would he do that? Victor knows that he wouldn't. He just wanted to scare him out of his hole and kill him when he gets a chance. Chapter 33, Only One. After Arya left the office in a hurry, Victor relaxed on his comfortable leather chair, then looked at the twins who were standing awkwardly near the door. Come, find a seat and relax, he told them. Sorry about scaring you earlier, but I had to act like that or someone would try something like the car incident again. The twins, who sat down onto the same couch, nodded their heads in acknowledgement. After a few minutes of awkward silence, Mana asked Victor timidly. Young master, why do you believe that someone tampered with the car? An expensive car like that would have multiple safety systems. Even if it were hit by truck, it would never explode. And didn't you notice how the door seemed stuck? How can that be? Why not tell the police? Asked Mina. Sometimes, it's better to fix our problems ourselves. That's how we do it in the family. He said, making the girls a little scared. What kind of family is this? Organized crime? After another minute or two, Mina, who had more courage than her sister, looked at Victor and asked in a low voice. Young master, our clothes were ruined in the accident. Can we return to the mansion to change before the birthday party tonight? Ah, I forgot about that. Victor smacked his head as he shamelessly lied. Don't worry, when Lily arrives here we will go shopping. Didn't you want to get a few gifts for your friend? I also need to get a new phone anyway, so I would buy you anything you like. He said with a big smile. The girls nodded their head and smiled. They couldn't hide their excitement. Girls their age always like to go shopping, and they didn't have many chances to do that in the last few years. Young master, I have another request, said Mina after she mustered her dwindling courage. What? Asked Victor with a smile, as he already knew what she was going to ask about. In the party tonight, can you hide from our friends the fact that we are your mates? She said while keeping her head lowered in shame. So, you are ashamed of being my mates? Asked Victor with an evil smile. No, never, young master, answered Mina nervously. It's just that we didn't want to tell them about our miserable past and only told them that we just live there with our aunt who is the caretaker of the mansion. We don't want them to think that we are lairs. She said. Oh. Victor paused a moment, then asked them a question that they were not ready for. Answer truthfully, did you fall in love with one of those friends of yours? He asked like that, Tom. He added, which caused the girls' faces to turn red with shame, and they kept their heads down in silence, refusing to answer. You can't ask a maiden this question. They complained in their hearts. I see, said Victor as he took their silence as approval, as if he didn't already know that. Hilda should have told you that you can't do that, right, he said, but the twins said nothing. They just looked at their feet in shame. I will not expose you, nor will I stop you. But I have a condition, only one of you can try to be Tom's girlfriend, while the other will have to serve me faithfully for the rest of her life. He said, causing the girls to raise their heads and look at him with a surprised eyes. They didn't expect such outcome, as they have prepared themselves for a life in servitude, and now he is giving one of them a chance to live a normal life. This was the first step in his plan to untangle their destiny from that idiot's. He will pit their strong destiny for each other against their destiny with Tom. I can't hand you over to a bastard who likes to play with two twins at the same time, he continued. Would you love such a pervert? He asked with an educating tone. No, both of the girls shook their heads and answered at the same time. They were raised in a traditional house, and although they can accept loving the same man, that is their choice. They would never accept a pervert who would paddle two boats at the same time and plays with girls' feelings, they thought. But they failed to realize that they have already fallen into the hands of such a pervert. Then who wants to be Tom's girlfriend, and who would stay with me? Victor asked them while already knowing their answers. They did not disappoint him. I will stay with the young master. Mana would go to Tom, both of them answered at the same time, sacrificing their freedom for the other's happiness. The girls looked at each other with gratefulness and blame. They wished the best for each other. Then how about this? Tonight we will secretly question Tom and let him choose. Suggested Victor, who was acting as if he really wanted to fulfill the girls' wishes. The girls nodded their heads in approval. That was indeed the best method. After a while there was a knock on the door. "Come in," said Victor. Arya pushed the door with an employee holding a tray with drinks, and 3 burly men who held a large stack of documents that she threw on Victor's desk as if saying, "You want to be a president? Then do your job." "What are these?" "Didn't I say I will only be responsible for the company's plans and strategies?" he asked while he took a cold lemonade glass and starting sipping on it. "These are the company's current plans and ongoing projects." Arya answered with a smirk, then followed the employees out of the room. "Arya, stay for a moment," said Victor. "What are your instructions, young master?" she said in a business tone. "Is there any projects planned in the Cloudy Mountain?" he asked. The Cloudy Mountain is a known tourist attraction in Vane City, and many legends say it has a big secret, but now one discovered anything after exploring it for many years. "Yes, young master, it is the set for our new martial arts movie. The filming has already started a week ago and will last for another 2 weeks. Are the young master interested in its legends?" she asked. Victor already knew about the movie, as in his previous life an accident happened there when he just arrived about a week from now. Now he will use it to his advantage. "Indeed, how about this? I will go inspect the set tomorrow," he said. Then he turned to the girls. "Do you want to go too? I believe John Sigma is the main star. You might get to see him," he asked. The twins quickly nodded their head. Who would refuse such an offer? "Good." Arya informed the crew that I will be there tomorrow morning and arrange a car to come pick me up in the morning. "No, make it a van. I don't want to be cramped in the same seat for too long," he said. "But what about the documents, young master? You would need about a week to review them," Arya said, feeling a little displeased as her brother didn't seem to be as annoyed about all the work she threw at him as she intended him to be. It felt like punching air. "Send them to the mansion. I will have a look at them in my spare time," he answered without care. Then looked at her and asked, "Did you find anything about the accident?" Arya stumbled a little but quickly answered, "No, nothing for now. Leo is still sedated in the hospital, so we will have to wait until tomorrow. But we did manage to acquire the road camera's footage throughout channels," she said, then subtly changed the subject. "I was very surprised you survived such accident. When I saw you earlier I thought it was just a minor accident, but I didn't think it was this serious. The footage shows you valiantly saving the twins from the car. I didn't know practicing the family arts made someone this strong. I wish I was able to practice too, but sadly I have no talent," Arya said as she looked at the twins and then at Victor and began to search for a trace of muscles under his ripped shirt. The scene of how Victor took them out of the burning car had changed her view on him. Although he is a pervert, her brother did not seem to be a bad guy, she thought. "I just inherited the good family genes," said Victor with a shallow smile. His answer had a hidden meaning she did not get. Before Arya could rebuke him, the door was pushed open and Lily, who was carrying a suit bag, entered the room. She wanted to politely greet everyone here, but upon seeing Victor's sorry appearance she rudely threw the bag at Arya, who was the first one standing in her way, and ran to her young master and began inspecting him. "Young master, are you okay? Are you hurt anywhere?" she asked in a worried voice. Victor patted her silky hair with his hand and said, "Don't worry, you know better than anyone that no one can hurt me. We will speak about this later. Now, give me that bag. I need to change," he asked Arya. "There is a changing room and a private bathroom in the back if you want to change," she said as she gave it to him. "Lily, follow me and help me change," he said as he entered the back room. Then Lily naturally followed him under Arya's surprised look. No, he is definitely a pervert like father, Arya thought. As for the twins, they just sat there wondering if Victor would do something to Lily in there or not. They did not get a chance to know Lily and have a private talk. Maybe they would be able to get to know her better today, they thought. "Arya, take the girls and give them a tour in the company. They seem to want some autographs." Victor's sound came from the back room. Arya nodded her head, gestured to the twins who were exited to go meet their stars and run away from this awkward situation. Then he looked at Lily, who was looking forward to helping her young master get dressed, and whispered in her ear, "Sorry to disappoint you, but you have a mission. Some people around here does not have long eyes. I have their files and information here. Have a look at them, then in the next few days assassinate the one in red, Jacob, and cripple the others." "Where did you meet him?" Arya asked the twins while guiding them through the company. "We are maids at his mansion," answered Mina. Oh, I see, Arya said and then kept her silent and led them through the company. She knew what being made in her family meant. The twins was very happy as they could see many of their idols, who were very polite to them when Arya introduced them as the new CEO's friends. When they returned to the office an hour later, Victor was already back to his old look as a charming young master dressed in a white suit, making Arya look at him in surprise. She didn't see it earlier as he looked like a bum, but this brother of hers is really handsome. Are you falling in love with me? Victor asked Arya, who was lost in her thoughts. Yes, she said first, then she got herself back together and blushed. Blah, who would love such a narcissistic brother? She spat then left the room in a hurry. Victor smiled then looked at the girls and said, "Let's go shopping," he said. Chapter 34, Purple. Victor did not take a car as the shopping district was pretty close by, so they just had to walk for a few minutes. And Victor enjoyed walking while surrounded by 3 pretty girls under the envious looks of all the guys on the road. Soon Victor, who was leading them, stopped at a luxurious-looking mobile phone store. Confirming the shop sign, he walked right in with the girls. The shop was full of all kinds of phones, but not the usual ones. Here, every phone was gilded or studded with diamonds. This is not a shop for commoners but elites. Although the twins were not into these kinds of vanity items, they couldn't stop their eyes from looking around. Victor soon came to the receptionist, but she was already busy with a guy dressed in a black suit who wanted to buy a limited phone for his hot girlfriend standing near him. She couldn't decide on what color to pick. Victor didn't want to make much trouble, and decided to take a look at the phones on display, as he should get new ones for the twins. The guy who was busy appeasing his girlfriend to choose something a little cheaper suddenly saw the 3 girls who had just entered the store. Pretty twins, he thought. Who does not want to get 2 twins to serve him at the same time? And that veiled chick looked really pretty. He wanted to know what was under her veil. So he quickly left his stunned girlfriend, who didn't seem beautiful in his eyes anymore, and went to the girls to introduce himself. "Hello beauties, my name is Lloyd Thompson. I am a senior manager at Green Technologies," he said to the girls. "If you girls want anything from here, I can buy it for you. I make 6 figures every." A sorry scream rocked the store. Under the surprised look of everyone, Lloyd bent down on the ground holding his crotch and wailed as he looked at Victor with murderous eyes. Like every arrogant young master would do, he just kicked that guy between his legs. Victor would never tolerate anyone hitting on his girls. Only he can do that. The girlfriend started to shout and yell, pointing at Victor, while the receptionist gestured to the guards and wanted to call the police. But the next moment she stopped as Victor put a purple jade token on the counter. To everyone's surprise, the receptionist said stop and pointed at the token, and the security guards, who were approaching silently, stopped and looked, then bowed down to Victor. "We have seen the young master," they said. "Take the garbage and throw it out, and add them to the blacklist," he said, pointing to the suffering man on the ground and his girlfriend. The guards quickly took the man and the noisy girlfriend and walked out from the back door. Now that the store was quiet again, Victor looked at the bowing receptionist. "Get us a private room and call your manager for me," he said. The receptionist nodded and gestured Victor to follow her upstairs. She led him into a luxurious waiting room. Then she quickly left to inform the manager before returning with some tea and telling Victor that the manager was out for some business and that he would be right back in a few minutes. Then she left in a respectful manner. Victor sat there sipping tea with the girls, who were a little surprised and amused by Victor's violent actions. This guy can get very jealous, they thought. "Did you like any of the phones downstairs?" he asked the twins. Mina looked at her sister and after hesitating for a moment she answered. "It's not that they are not pretty, but we don't want something that flashy," she answered truthfully. "I see. What about you, Lily? Did you like any of it? You need a phone so I can easily reach you, and it would be more convenient for you when you want to report to my mother," he said with a smirk to Lily, whose face turned a little red and her butt itched after remembering Victor's lesson this morning. But she really needed a phone. If her young master needed her when she was not near, she would be able to rush to his side immediately. "I believe that the young master should get a VX custom phone for everyone," she answered. The VX phone is a custom model. It was designed for the family's agents only. It is at least 10 years more advanced than the latest phone on the market and contains some of the features of the more advanced MX, which is limited to the top echelons of the family. Victor nodded his head in approval. While the twins tilted their heads in wonder, they have never heard of this brand. Don't worry, Lily told them, it's a custom phone, and it is much better than anything you could buy, she said with a smile. It seems like she had a good impression of them. The girls looked at her and nodded. They felt that they need to know more about this mysterious girl. She didn't seem to be a bad person. Soon after, a faint knock on the door, a bloated middle-aged man in a suit who had a balding head entered the room with a smile. He should be the manager here. Ah, young master, welcome to our humble family shop. What can this lowly servant do for you? He asked. Victor got directly to the point. I need a new MX phone, as my last phone got confiscated by the police, so I would also need you to disable that one and transfer my secure number to the new one. In addition to that, I would need 3 new Vexes for the girls, 2 rose pink ones, and a purple one. He still remembers the colors of the twins' old phones. And they seem to have been focusing on phones of such color earlier. The manager looked at Victor with piercing eyes and said respectfully, Young master, I would be needing your token to get the MX, as it is only available for certain ranks. Victor nodded and threw the J token to the manager, who was very surprised to see it was a purple one. Damn, he thought. The receptionist only told him that a family heir came for some business but didn't say anything of him being an elite. The man quickly returned the token after confirming its authenticity and its ID. He would need the ID to transfer the secure line. Sorry for the disturbance, young master, I will be right back, he said while bowing and respectfully leaving the room. Lily looked at Victor with strange eyes. Young master, how did you know that I liked the color purple? She asked him while tilting her pretty head. She never wore that color nor had it on her. How would he know that she loved it for as long as she can remember? Victor was stunned and looked at her curious pretty eyes. This girl is getting smarter by the minute, he thought, but didn't tell the truth and only gave her a narcissistic answer like every young master would. I noticed that you liked to play with my purple hair when I slept, so I knew it was your favorite color, he said to the dumbfounded Lily. This young master is getting more shameless by the minute, she thought. Victor didn't tell the truth, he has just confirmed his thoughts. Lily truly favors this color, like a certain guy who wore a purple robe and adorned his hands with purple bracelets. He even remembered seeing his underwear once and it was purple too. It's probably in their family, he thought. The manager returned soon with the phones, and after Victor distributed them to the girls, he left the shop under the respectful gaze of the manager. Chapter 35, Shopping. Victor took the girls to a nearby mall next. He intended to buy them some clothes, but the girls were very shy, and although they liked many of the clothes, they kept refusing him as he kept insisting that he should join them in the dressing room. Lily, who seemed to have got a little annoyed, decided to step in. Young master, why don't you let me do the shopping with them? We can't delay any longer as we have a party to attend to tonight. So can you wait for us by in the cafe at the corner? She said, pointing to a nearby shop. And without waiting for his approval, she snatched his credit card from his pocket, then winked at him and grabbed the twins' hands, and walked away, leaving a lonely young master standing by himself. Victor shook his head and laughed. It seems that Lily is feeling a little jealous, but it's a good thing that she took them shopping. It would be beneficial for them to spend some girl time together. And that was his plan all along. He needed to get some things ready for tomorrow, and having them by his side was inconvenient. Now, what should he do first? He walked around the market watching the stores and the people going in and out when he noticed an antique store with many old and exquisite treasures displayed on its front. That's the first step, he thought with an evil smile. He entered the antique shop and started browsing his goods until he found an old bronze-decorated chalice. It looked like something from a Gothic movie set. This is exactly what he was looking for, so he bought it immediately, then paid a little extra and instructed the shopkeeper to send it to his mansion immediately while giving him the address, as he didn't want the twins to see it. After that, he went to some variety shops and ordered a few sets of hiking equipment and some other gadgets for tomorrow. Then he finished by entering a small traditional pharmacy located in a faraway corner. "Can I help you?" said the old man who was behind the counter. Victor looked at him and smiled. This one is a player. Name, Albert Nail. Level, 34. Class, Alchemist. Authority, 5. Strength, 25. Agility, 30. Intelligence, 50. Luck, 20. Charm, 5. Order, 17. Skills. Medicine Brewing, B. Basic Sword Arts, F. Mid-Plants Appraisal, B. Drugs Analysis A. This shop specializes in player medicines in addition to normal drugs and natural remedies. I need these few drugs, he said as he gave the old man a piece of paper he prepared in the office earlier. The old man looked at them and frowned his brows. These are for easing the birth for pregnant women and might cause miscarriage if given before the right time. Are you sure these are the correct ones? The black rose petals are not a medicine for commoners, he asked Victor, who nodded in affirmation and whispered one word: a player. Usual drugs do not work well with players, so additional special materials should be added like the black rose petals to strengthen its effects. But those same materials would be dangerous if ingested by a normal human. So Victor clarified that they are for a player. The old man nodded his head and immediately prepared the materials. Do you know how to brew them? Only let the patient drink 1 cup, he told Victor. Yes, how much are they? 3,000 for the black rose petals and 200 for the rest, he answered. Victor quickly paid and took the materials which the old man packed for him in a paper bag. He should now find someone to send them back to the mansion as he can't go around walking with a paper bag all day, not good for the image. Lily took the girls through many shops and to the twins' astonishment brought everything the twins admired. The twins were very embarrassed. Sister Lily, is it really okay for us to buy all of these using the young master's money? Mina asked. Don't worry, he won't go broke even if we would have bought this entire mall 1,000 times, she said with confidence, making the twins wonder just how rich is their young master. And consider this as compensation, didn't he sleep with the 2 of you last night? She asked with an evil grin. She has learned how to tease little girls from her bad young master. The young master did nothing to us. He only used us as hug pillows, said Mana in a soft voice and a light blush. Lily took a sigh of relief. She was afraid that her young master would have lied to her and slept with the twins first. I can't tell you why, but you don't have to worry. He will not touch you in the near future anyway, she said with a smile, assuring the girls as they were very nervous about this subject. Then Lily went and continued her shopping spree with them. She didn't bring any luggage or extra clothes with her to the mansion, so she needed some extra clothes in addition to underwear and pajamas. She would be too shy to shop for these with Victor, that is the reason she chose to betray her young master and go with the girls alone. Next, they started shopping for a gift for Tom. This didn't take a long time. Now that we bought all these things, let's find a hotel room so we can have a bath then change and do our hair. We can't look like this at your friend's party, she said to the girls who nodded their heads in approval. They didn't notice it, but they have been opening up more and more to Lily, who was acting like their big sister. There was a small hotel next to the mall, so they rented a room and the twins took a quick bath. When they got out of the bath they found Lily in the room, trying different clothes, but there was something different. She did not have her veil on. Although they were girls, they could only look at her in amazement. They have never seen such a beautiful girl before. Not even the movie stars and models they saw today in the company could rival her in beauty. Lily smiled at them, then quickly helped them put their new clothes on, and when they finished Mina suddenly turned to Lily. Ms. Lily, I wanted to ask you a question. What is your relationship with the young master? You seem rather close, asked Mina. I am his first mate, but I don't think that we are that close as I only met him 2 days ago, said Lily, making the girls feel very surprised. But you just helped him put on his clothes and you didn't seem to be embarrassed, Mina asked, unconvinced. Didn't you help him get dressed in the morning? Don't worry about such things. The young master is very good to us, I can promise you that. 2 days ago he confronted his elders to save my life and grant me my wish. So I decided that he is the only man I would serve in this life, said Lily, then packed her things and left the room, making the girls quickly follow her out while wondering, he did save our lives too today, should we do the same as her? Lily asked the hotel to send their newly acquired luggage to the mansion, then left the hotel with the girls. It's time to reunite with the young master. It was already sunset when the girls returned. The twins were dressed in a fashionable red dress and seemed to have had their hair done, while Lily was dressed in a blue sundress. Victor glared at Lily, who lowered her head in shame as she seemed to have realized that she might have made her young master wait for too long. He gave them a long inspecting look. You look beautiful, he said to the blushing twins, then walked to Lily, who was looking at the twins with little jealousy, and whispered in her ear. You look the most beautiful of them all. So don't be jealous, he said. She lowered her head in shame, but he could see that her ears had turned red. Then he took Lily's hand and told the girls to follow him. They have a birthday party to attend. Chapter 36, Birthday Party. The Flying Dragon restaurant was a famous mid-range establishment located in the center of Vane City. It has a dining hall and also offers many private rooms for parties and business meetings. Victor and the girls did not take a long time to reach the restaurant. They went right in and asked a waiter who could not keep his eyes to himself about Tom's party. Tom has reserved the best room in the restaurant, and the waiter volunteered to guide them, so Victor's group had to take the elevator to the 4th story. In the elevator, Victor inspected the twins, who bowed their heads in shame. They were very nervous and afraid Victor would make trouble with them and their friend. "Don't worry, I will behave," he said as he understood their concerns. When the elevator stopped, Victor gestured the girls to go ahead, then hugged Lily and swaggered out like a young master. The twins could only shake their heads and continue to follow the waiter, failing to hear Victor's faint whispers in Lily's ear. During the party, find a suitable time to make your veil momentarily fall to the ground in front of Tom, and it would be better if you could interrupt him while he is talking to the twins, he whispered with an evil smile. "Young master, you are so bad," she thought. She knew how much her beauty can stun a man. Even a woman would have her jaws dropped when looking at her for the first time. And this Tom is just a boy in adolescence. Can he take such a hit? Her beauty has seemingly been increasing every day now, and she knew that it was the effect of the charm attribute. They reached the room quickly, where the waiter opened the door respectfully for them. "Mina, Mana, we were waiting for you," a gentle sound greeted them when they entered the room. The room had a birthday party atmosphere with dim lights. It had some decorations and balloons. There were only 5 attendants besides the birthday boy. 2 boys and 3 girls. The one who spoke was a teenage boy with flowing black hair and a normal face, but he had an aura that forced people to like him and made them follow him. And his name is Tom. The twins quickly entered the room, followed by Victor and then Lily. "Hello everyone, sorry about being late," Mina said. It's okay, we were just getting started," said a young man wearing fancy clothes while giving the twins an fervorous look. Then he looked behind them at Victor, asked, "And who is he?" "This party is for our friends only," he said with hostility. He didn't like the fact that the twins brought a boy along. "Peter, don't be rude," said Tom. "May I know who your friends are?" he asked Mina with a warm smile. "Ah." Mina blushed a little, then got herself together and answered, "Those are." Victor didn't let her continue but stepped forward and stretched his hand to Tom. "Hello, I am Victor White, and this is my assistant. Sorry about the intrusion on your humble birthday party, but yesterday when I heard Ms. Mina talking on the phone, I couldn't help myself but ask her to bring me along, as this one wanted to experience the life of commoners," he said with a proud face. The boys with Peter looked at Victor with murderous eyes. How dare he approach their goddess? What is his relationship with her? Tom's face cramped a little, but he quickly got hold of himself and shook Victor's hand. "Hello, I am Tom Watson, the birthday boy. Please come sit down," he said with a forced smile. Victor helped himself to a random seat, and Lily quickly sat by his side, while the twins sat on the other side with another 2 girls. Before anyone could inquire about Victor, Mina quickly took out a gift box and gave them to Tom with a smile. "Happy birthday, Tom." Tom smiled and accepted the box. He understood that this one was from both Mina and Mana. But he didn't open it in consideration, as he knew that the girls didn't have much money and didn't want to embarrass them. "Tom, let us see what the girls got you," said a hot girl who seemed stuck to Tom and was giving the girls threatening looks the moment they got into the room. "Margaret, that's fine, I will open it later," Tom said. Mina quickly helped him. "It's okay, I know that Tom would like this." So Tom nodded and opened the box to find a brand new phone in it. Tom was a little shocked, and both Margaret and Peter, who were stretching his neck from behind Tom's back, were shocked too. This thing was not just expensive, it was out of stock, as it was only launched a few days ago. "Is this an original?" asked Margaret with envy. "Yes," Mina and Mana nodded their heads. "Where did you get it from? Did you steal it?" asked Margaret with an evil smile. "No, we..." Mina didn't know what to say, but Victor quickly came to the rescue. "It's clean. Today at the afternoon, the girls pooled their money together and wanted to get one for you. But it was not enough and they couldn't find a store willing to sell, so I offered to help them a little as a compensation for a little favor, and they accepted." Victor lied with a smile. "A favor?" Tom whispered to himself while looking coldly at the girls, then at Victor. He was getting a little angry. He doesn't like other men around the girls he likes. He wanted to ask what is that favor, but he felt it was a little inappropriate. So he changed his question. "May I inquire about your relationship with them?" he asked. Mina and Mana flinched a little. Why do they feel a threatening look from Tom, who is usually very nice to them? Ah, you see, we live now under the same roof. Their aunt is the caretaker of the mansion father gifted me when he sent me to attend school here at Vane City, he said, making the twins relieved, the boys gasp, and Tom very tense. He didn't like this news at all. But he could do nothing about it. Ah, you own that mansion? Margaret and the rest of the girls were interested immediately, as they have already seen where the girls live, while the boys wanted to strangle this lucky guy. What does your father do for a living? Margaret quickly inquired with curious eyes. My father is the owner of a conglomerate of media production companies. He just gifted me a small local one to try my hands. What was its name? Yes, Horizons Media. I am now its CEO, he said with an arrogant tone. What? Everyone was surprised. The boys were a little envious, while Tom began to stare at Victor with inspecting eyes. Isn't it the company that is now filming Dragon Hero 4 in Vane City's mountains? Margaret asked, making Victor want to stand up and give her a kiss. She just steered the conversation to the direction he desires. He will reward her later, he decided. Yes, exactly, and since I didn't get a gift today, how about I offer you all a trip to the movie set tomorrow morning? He asked. We would really love to go, but… Tom began to find an excuse, as he didn't like Victor, but he was quickly interrupted by him. The twins offered to help me all day tomorrow, you see, so I thought your friends would be happy visiting a movie set too, he said, making Tom swallow his words, then look at the twins, who kept their heads lowered. They wished their friends would go with them. They would be able to spend more time with Tom, and maybe their young master would be a little more honest with more people around. Fine, I would go. Where would we meet? He asked. You just take the bus to the bottom of the cloudy mountain. We would pick you up on the road later, but bring some hiking shoes. The terrain there is a little rough. How about 8:00 am? Victor asked, making everyone nod their heads in excitement. Everyone was going. Who would miss such a trip? Okay, that's decided. Let's continue with the party then. The cake is almost here, said Tom. Victor nodded his head, then took a drink that Lily handed to him and drank a little as he activated his appraisal skill at Tom. Let us see what secrets you hide, he thought. Chapter 37, Cyan. Name, Thomas Watson, Tom. Level, 11. Class, Berserker. Authority, 6. Strength, 45 plus 100% in Berserk mode. Agility, 35 plus 50% in Berserk mode. Intelligence, 30 to 50% in Berserk mode. Luck, 30. Charm, 30. Order, 22. Skills. Berserk Rage S. Master Sword Arts A. Captivating Smile A. Improved Hearing A. Improved Sight A. Leadership, Passive S. Taunt Enemy A. Fate Status SS Heroic Cyan. A walking tank, that's what Victor would have named him if Tom was his son. Such status at level 11 is amazing. Even in the family, such geniuses would be granted elite status. But the real problem with Tom is his fate. A lot of geniuses die early, but people like Tom live for a long time. Victor knew his fate would be at least an S. People call individuals with such fates Cyan. They are the children of destiny. The one who destroyed Victor's family back then was one of them. If this world was a movie, they would be the hero who would get all the girls, all the money, and all the cool powers. They would dodge bullets and leave the scene of a battle without a speck of dust on his clothes. Science can be good or bad, heroes or devils. The choice is theirs, and everyone else has to pay the price. The only way to get rid of a Cyan who wants to kill you is to escape and hide from him and wait. Someday he would be bored of this mundane world and find another place to wreak havoc onto. He is a force of nature. Very few succeeded in defeating, and fewer remained alive after defeating them, as fate and luck are always with them. Once upon a time, a country decided to defeat one with a nuke, but for some reason, it kept being delayed, and when they were able to launch it was too late. The Cyan had a way to neutralize it by then. Nowadays those guys are just considered geniuses. But later the world would come to know their strengths and amazing powers. Organizations would flock to get them in their ranks. Watching Tom blow the candles on his cake, Victor remembered his past life. He met Tom for the first time at the elite school, where both of them attended the special class made for players. Tom was amazing and kept getting stronger day after day. Every year he would return from his summer vacation after conquering some dungeons or defeating some powerful enemy. And the girls around him kept increasing too. There was even a certain female teacher who fell in love with him, and Victor heard that she left school to be Tom's full-time mate. After school, Victor no longer heard of him until the reckoning, where he saw him in the news. Tom, who was supposed to be an old man by then, was still looking valiant and young as he did back in school. He seemed to join a player organization which became later one of the major powers in the world and rivaled the Hidden Families and sects. After that, Victor would get glimpses of Tom's greatness every now and then. The last time he saw him was before he used the Book of Time. Tom at that time was going to get married to a princess in the royal family. Now, looking at his SS heroic fate ranking, all these feats can be expected. Now Victor has to get rid of such an individual, as that is the only way he would be able to completely get the twins, but for him, it was not a problem of possibility, but opportunity. His Fate Weaver class would not let him be swept away. On the contrary, he is now their nemesis. And they are now his prey. Victor's plan is already on track. And Tom's path for greatness would become his, that is if he played his cards correctly. Chapter 38, Pervert. After a few minutes of interactions and introductions, Victor got the names of everyone here. The girls were Margaret, Anna, and Sarah, while the boys were Peter and George. Peter was the only one between them with a distinguished family, as his father works as an assistant to the governor. They were Tom's only friends in middle school, as he wasn't very popular. Many of them tried to inquire about Lily indirectly, but Victor shot them all down by saying that she was just his assistant. He intended to keep an air of mystery around her. After the cake was delivered, Tom blew the candles and everyone sat down to eat after wishing him a happy birthday. Victor spotted a chance later when Tom stood up and left the room, probably to the bathroom. Victor looked at Tom leaving, then at the twins, and signaled them that it was their time to move and question him. So they nodded and quickly followed nervously. Victor waited for a little while after they left and then signaled Lily, who knew what she has to do. No one noticed what just happened to expect for Margaret, who kept her eyes on Tom, so after he left followed by the three girls, she decided to follow as well. She was getting a little jealous. Victor quickly noticed her, so he went to her immediately and started a conversation. "May I ask you, what school do you go to?" he asked while flashing his best charming smile. Looking at him, she forgot about Tom and decided to not bother. "There is a bigger fish here. I just enrolled in high school. I will go to the one in the 5th district, she said with a smile as she twirled her curly hair. "Ah, too bad, we will not be at the same school, as I was just enrolled in the elite school," Victor said with some sadness in his voice. Peter, who was listening in the back, quickly joined in. He didn't want to lose Margaret to this guy. "From our school, only Tom and the twins got into the elite high school. I can accept the twins going there as their scores are perfect, but Tom's case is strange. He has even worse scores than me," he said dejectedly. "Yes, I wonder about that too. Do you have any idea, Victor? I applied there but was rejected," Margaret said. "In order to be accepted, there are 3 cases," Victor said, making all the guys in the room go silent and listen to him, as every one of them wished to go there. The first type of students are the really smart ones, like Mina and Mana. The second type is the really rich ones like me. You can be accepted if you donated a 6 numbers figure to the school, he said proudly, making everyone feel dejected. "What about the third type?" asked Margaret, who knew about those already. "I don't really know all the details, but they seem to choose students with superb athletic abilities, the ones way beyond the norm, maybe some kind of a governmental program, but I heard rumors," Victor said. Peter suddenly interjected, "I heard about those too. They say they have students with supernatural abilities there. Like, I would believe that. But maybe there is some truth to it. Tom is very athletic. He is the best in our school. Although he didn't start playing any sport until last year," Margaret said. "Where is Tom from, and what do his parents do for a living? Can he afford the school?" Victor suddenly asked. "Tom's parents run a grocery store near the train station. He is from Vane City like the rest of us. But lately, he has acquired a lot of money. It is said that he had won the lottery," Peter said with envy in his eyes. "Oh," said Victor, "okay then, let's change the subject. Why don't I tell you about this crazy thing that happened to me today?" Victor decided to tell them some bullshit to keep them in the room until Tom and the girls returned. Tom got out of the restroom after washing his hands to see the twins waiting for him in the corridor. "Tom, we need to ask you a question," said Mina with some hesitation. "Sure," answered Tom with a smile, then walked to a suitable place near the stairs where he can stand with the twins. "I am sure this is sudden, but we have to ask you," said Mina with a blushed face as she just realized how embarrassing her situation is. But she had to do it. Tom, who do you like best, Mana or me? She asked in one breath, then kept her blushed face to the ground in shame. Who would you prefer to be with in the future? She continued in a soft voice. Tom was shocked. He didn't expect such a question. The truth is he wanted them both to warm his bed, but he can't tell them that, so he was intending to tell them that they are both precious to him. But at that very moment, as he started to answer, he saw a girl walking behind the twins, seemingly going to the restroom. She was the girl who was just attending to that young master. Suddenly her veil fell to the ground, so she bent down to take it, then put it back. He was shocked. Can a girl be this beautiful? I like her. I want her to warm my bed too, he thought, but his shock made him utter some words that were in his mind. Both. I like. Precious. Bed. Want. He said while stuttering until Lily went into the ladies' restroom. Mina and Mana didn't feel Lily's approach as they were looking at the ground, and she didn't make any noise, so after hearing his answer, they were both very embarrassed and stunned. They nodded their blushed heads and quickly escaped back into the room. Not knowing what to think, they were really happy he liked them, but they felt more conflicted about what to do. And what about that bed thing? Could it be? Tom followed after them to find his friends have already surrounded Victor, who was telling them about his first day at work and how he taught those disrespectful employees who are the real boss. The twins seemed to have sat near Victor, as if escaping from him, so he didn't have the chance to clarify things. He could only return to his position and listen to Victor's tale while checking his new phone. Soon Lily entered the room and sat next to Victor too. But Tom, who was playing with the phone, kept looking at her every now and then and recall what he had just seen. He must have her to himself, he told himself, but he has to find a chance. This girl seemed to be some kind of assistant to that dude. He should ask the twins about her, but that would be awkward right now. He glanced at them to see that they have been looking at him, but they quickly looked away. I have to find a chance to make things clear, he thought, not realizing that he had just made a big mistake. The girls have been watching him, as glanced at Lily repeatedly and were a little jealous. Is it true? Is Tom a pervert? They wondered. Soon the party came to an ending, and Victor decided to say goodbye to everyone. They seemed to like him now, including Peter, who was aggressive to him at the start. Although this young master is a little arrogant, he is really cool, they thought. Do you want me to walk you home? Tom asked the twins as he wanted some alone time with them. No, young master. Victor would take us. We live at the same place after all, said Mina softly, then left quickly with her sister. Ah. Tom froze as he seemed to have just remembered this critical information. Victor came to the stunned Tom, then took his hand and shook it. Happy birthday, Tom. I heard you will also be attending the elite school. We should be friends from now on, he said. Then he turned to face everyone else. Don't forget our appointment tomorrow at 8:00. I already gave Margaret my phone number, so feel free to call me, he said, and followed the twins out with Lily. Tom glanced at him leaving and could not help feeling that this guy was a villain. He didn't know why, but he had an urge to smack his face. Anyway, there will be a chance tomorrow. He will make things clear with the twins, and maybe get to know that pretty girl whose name he forgot to get. Chapter 39, Nick. Victor and the girls took a taxi home. The twins were nervous about what to tell Victor, so they didn't speak, and neither did he. When they reached the bottom of the mansion's hill, Victor told the driver to stop. I will take a walk under the moon with Lily. You two probably need to have a private talk, so why don't you return to the mansion first and prepare us some dinner, he said to the grateful twins, who nodded their heads. They needs to discuss Tom's response and to decide what to do. So Victor took Lily and left the car and walked away holding her hand, leaving the twins, who asked the driver to get them to the gate of the mansion. After getting off and paying the driver, they greeted the guard and began to climb up the hill, not realizing the pitying look he was giving them. What do you think? Mina asked. Tom said. He likes us both. What should we do? No idea. I was really happy when he confirmed he liked us, but what about that bed thing? What does he want a bed for? Pondered Mana. I don't know. Tom was acting strange today, but he seemed a little distracted and kept looking at Miss Lily. She said with a frown. Do you think he fell in love with her? Asked Mana nervously. Even if he did, she said that she would only follow the young master. But Tom's reactions makes me hesitant. Me too, I don't know what to think. If what the young master said is true, then Tom would be a pervert who peddles many boats at the same time. I don't want to believe that. He was always very nice to us. What should we do? How about we ask Aunt Hilda? Definitely not. Even if the young master approved of our behavior, she would not, she would probably punish us. Mina said with fear. She doesn't want to experience Hilda's punishment again. How about we ask the young master then? Fine by me, he will understand us, Mina said with a smile. Not realizing that they have already fallen into their young master's pot and were being boiled warmly. With that, they reached the main mansion. After entering, they were surprised to find a young man with brown hair and a matching brown suit, sitting on a leather sofa in the entrance. It was as if he was waiting for them. Two other bald men were standing by his side with evil smiles. Hilda was standing nervously near the wall, and the twins could make out a red slap mark on her face. Haha, it's like you said, Hilda was hiding some hot chicks from me, he said to one of the men, who quickly nodded his bald head. Yes, young master Nick, I saw them 3 days ago when I was surveying the hill for you. What would you say now? Would you keep denying it, or do you think I am a fool? Nick looked at Hilda and said, then he stood up and approached her, looking her in the eyes. The twins have already served young Master Victor, you can no longer touch them. You know the family's rules, she said in a challenging tone. Earlier she denied their existence, but this man seemed to have come here today intending to get them. Not even her threatening him with Victor worked, it only gained her another slap, and a heavy one. Oh, I don't care about little Victor, I already told you, he is just a nobody in the family. I already know that he barely passed the ceremony, and father was so angry that he banished him here before the results could be announced so that he can save himself some face. He said as he took out a black ring and pointed it to Hilda, making her scream in pain as the tattoo on her neck glowed with red light, then started hitting Hilda harder and harder. He can't tolerate anyone challenging him. Soon Hilda, who was much stronger than him, fell to the ground, so he started to kick her, and could already see blood coming from her mouth. Nick smiled in triumph, although others might think he is a coward for using the master ring to weaken and strangle her so she would not resist. He liked the feeling of being in control. He did fear the family rules, but he can ignore those. The mansion has no cameras, so no one would know what would happen here. He made sure to hide his tracks when he came here. This was supposed to be a normal inspection, and his target was the twins whom his men has recently discovered. His assistant told him about them yesterday, but this morning he got a phone call from that person, informing him of a new plan. His younger brother Victor was in town after nearly failing his ceremony. Get rid of him. That was their order. He was not afraid of Victor. What if he was an heir? He does not care. He only saw him once when he was a kid, a weak kid. He heard how he was not even able to practice the family's secret art. What a loser. Nick, despite his barely existent bloodline, was able to master some of the arts. And he has a backing now. When they take over the family, even the current patriarch would be a dog under his feet. Maybe he would be able to lay his hands on some of his father's concubines then. He kept fantasizing about his plans while kicking Hilda. Stop, Mina said. Let Hilda go, you can't do that to her, the young master will punish you, she added while covering for her sister, who used her phone to send a message for help. Nick looked at her and laughed, then kicked Hilda one last time. And where is little Victor now? He asked. He will be here any moment now, so you better let Hilda go, said Mina. He walked over to the twins and flashed the ring in his hand and activated the punishment functions, intending to make them suffer a little. You dare order me? Now feel this young master's wrath, he said arrogantly. But to his surprise, nothing happened, and that made him look like an idiot. One of his men couldn't contain his laugh and made Nick give him a poisonous stare, which made him stop abruptly. It seems little Victor branded you, interesting. But that won't stop me, he said as he grabbed the red dresses on the girls and tore them apart, and exposing the girls' delicate skin, he started to look at them with fervorous eyes, and couldn't help licking his lips. Not bad, he said as he kicked the phone that fell out of Mana's hand. He had already seen her calling for help, but didn't care, as he wanted his little brother to be here sooner. The twins wanted to run away, but they hesitated a little, not wanting to leave Hilda, as they could see she needed medical help. Maybe one of them could escape and bring help, they thought. Don't think about escaping, Nick, who already knew what they were thinking, said as one of his men reached for the door, closing it, then standing next to it with a smirk. The girls covered their bodies with their hands and glared at Nick, not backing down or asking for help. They have learned from a young age that such men won't back down, and their only way is to fight him to the end. Nick was amused. Although he was not a full player, he had enough power to deal with 2 little girls. "Do you want to fight me?" he asked. He quickly slapped 2 girls to the ground and gave each one a couple of kicks. Then looked at them with a smirk. Who to eat first? He was thinking. They could only hold each other and hope that help would come soon. The young master would not abandon them, would he? "No one can save you now. I will play with you all night, and when little Victor arrives I will let him watch, and maybe allow him to touch you a little. I heard he is into such plays. But after tasting me, you would like no other man," he said with a smirk as he fancied himself a master lover. "Then when that loser is at the height of his pleasure, I would kill him, making it look as if he died in a heart attack on a woman's couch," he thought in his heart. "What about us, boss?" said one of his men, a bald man with a black dragon tattoo on his forearm. "Don't worry, you will get your turn too like we usually do," he said as he took off his coat. "Today will be a day you will remember for the rest of your lives," he said to the twins as he flexed his muscles. Chapter 40, A Change of Plans. Standing on a grassy hillside and watching the full moon, Victor, who was holding Lily's hand, looked at her and asked, "Lily, do you think I am evil?" "You are not a good man, young master, but not an evil one either. You are just you," Lily said. "And that's the way I like you," she said in her heart. She didn't know Victor for a long time, but she had very good instincts since she was young, and she could easily tell if someone was good or bad, like she did when she first met Guy. When she met Victor, Lily felt that she can trust him unconditionally. When she saw her young master for the first time, every cell in her body told her that he is the kind of person who is cruel to his enemies, kind to his own family. And she has long decided to be his. "You give me too much credit," he said with a sigh. He felt a little conflicted. The twins would be a little hurt because of his plan. But nothing would happen to them, as Nick dares not break the family rules. Suddenly his new phone vibrated, notifying him that it had received a message. It was from the twins, and it had only one word: help. Looking at it, Victor quickly showed it to Lily, then hurried back with her to the mansion. This is what he was waiting for. It took them 2 minutes to reach the bottom gate. "Did the twins return?" he asked the guard, who quickly saluted. "Yes, young master, 15 minutes ago." "Young master Nick is here too. He arrived an hour ago," the guard said. "Is he alone, or does he have others with him?" Victor asked. "He had 2 other men," the guard said. Victor nodded his head and went uphill with Lily. Victor has already figured out what happened this very same night in his past life. It was probably Tom who escorted the twins home that night, and he was the one who hurried to save them from Nick's clutches. Then he probably set this entire mansion on fire to hide his tracks. And that also explains why the twins did not have the tattoos back then, as Tom must have used the master seal on Nick to free them. As for Hilda, he didn't know her destiny. She was either dead or hiding away with Tom. The family didn't punish Tom. It was because the investigation took a very long time. It turned out that Nick was a part of one of the opposing wings in the family. He was doing some of their dirty jobs. But the problem was the fact that Nick was building his own army. He had gathered massive wealth and resources and kept them hidden from both the family and his masters. Were it not for the evidence uncovered on his body, the family would have been kept in the dark. By the time the results came out, Tom was too strong, and the family was not interested in poking a hornet's nest for a traitor. Victor only discovered this drama much later when he browsed the family's archives he had found in a secret chamber under the ruins. And Victor is now planning to kill Nick tonight and make all the resources his bastard brother gathered his own. "Lily, when we enter the mansion, I want you to quickly attack the person I point at as a thief and kill him immediately, without giving him a chance to speak." Lily was a little surprised but nodded her head. She understood that Victor intended to kill Nick, who was probably the reason for the twins' distress message. Brothers killing each other is the norm in this kind of family. There would be probably some troubles later and the family would question them. But as long as he had an excuse, it will end up mostly fine. "Do you want me to get rid of the guard at the gate too? He has already told us that it was your brother who is here," she asked him as a professional assassin. "Yes, but later. We will make it look like we are punishing him for failing to probably inform us. I wanted to change the guards anyway," he said. It took them only 1 minute to reach the top as they used their top speed, but when they reached near the mansion and Victor abruptly slowed down then stopped. In front of the door, there was an expensive limited edition sports car parked. It was probably Nick's, but it was not the reason he stopped. It was a weird feeling of a black thread wrapping around his neck then piercing his heart. It was his fate instinct skill, which activated and showed him that someone is planning to kill him. He caught Lily's arm and gestured her to use her survey skill. That she quickly used, then wrote one word with her shaking finger on his palm, Jacob, then another word, explosives. He immediately understood who this Jacob was. It was none other than Carla's brother, the guy who rigged his car this morning. This afternoon, when he was changing his clothes, he ordered Lily to find a chance to assassinate him in a couple of days. But he made a mistake. He didn't expect this guy to be so persistent. He should have gotten rid of him earlier today. No, there is a better way, he thought, and quickly activated his fate tracker skill, setting the black thread as a target. Now he could feel Jacob hiding on top of a big tree nearby. Victor smiled and whispered softly to Lily, change of plans. Then he started walking like an arrogant young master and headed to Nick's car, looking at it with pride. Dear Lily, do you like this car? He asked Lily, who felt a little strange but played along. Yes, young master, it is very amazing. Is it yours? She asked. Yes, my brother Nick promised he would get me one of those tonight. Let's go meet him. I will get the keys and take you for a late night drive by the lake. I wanted to show you my driving skills for a long time, he said arrogantly to Lily, who nodded with approval. I can't wait, young master. Maybe we could try some new things, Lily said with a hidden smile, making Victor look at her strangely. He will have to fix her later, he thought. Then, holding her hand, Victor entered the mansion. And without looking back, they closed the door firmly behind them. As if they haven't already noticed the man with the evil smirk in the shadows. He has heard Victor's words clearly. And he also needed to change his plans. Chapter 41, Resolval. The door of the mansion was pushed open without a warning, shoving the man standing behind it to the ground. Victor strode inside arrogantly and looked around the room in silence, waiting for Lily to close the door, as he didn't want to startle the snake outside. It only took him seconds to analyze the entire situation here. The twins who sat on the ground were missing a lot of their clothing, and he could see pieces of shredded fabrics around them. They do have beautiful bodies. I will let them show it to me later, he thought. Hilda was also on the ground and her situation did not look good, but Victor knew that she was a player and she would not die that easily. Nick was standing in front of the twins with his bare chest. He still had his pants on, so Victor knew he arrived at the right time and maybe a little too early. He wanted to play the hero, but he couldn't take the risk. Nick's actions truly surprised him though. Why would he assault the twins, ignoring the family's rules, unless he wouldn't be found out? He gets it now. Victor quickly focused on Nick and appraised him. Name, Nick Von Wise. Level, 0. Class. Authority, 1. Strength, 13. Agility, 13. Intelligence, 15. Luck, 9. Charm, 15. Order, 22. Skills. Minor Boxing Arts E. Virginity Appraisal E. Little Menacing Aura F. Fate Status F. Falling. Fated to die no matter what. Interesting skill, thought Victor thought as he looked at the two men Nick brought with him. The who one was thrown to the ground, was trying to stand up, while the other was holding a stick in his hand. They had similar looks, bald heads and muscular build, and some tattoos hidden behind their shirts. Maybe brothers. Victor quickly whispered a few words to Lily, who had just closed the door firmly behind him. Don't kill them, and make sure to leave one of them able to drive, he said, as he strode into the hall with a smile, clapping his hands. Very nice show. You are my brother Nick, I presume, he asked as he walked to Nick. Yes, and you should belittle Victor, said Nick, who turned to face Victor, who out of nowhere suddenly appeared in front of Nick, then hit him hard on the stomach, making Nick fly in the air, then collapse on the floor after hitting a marble column on the entrance hall. The bald man with the stick was surprised by the surprise attack, but he quickly got himself together and rushed to save his master, but was stopped by a cold feeling on the top of his bald head as a gentle hand grabbed his skull and pushed it against the cold marble floor. He didn't know what happened. He could see his brother was on the ground near him, grimacing in pain. What happened to him? When? What is hurting him? He questioned, and soon got the answer when Lily's slender foot crushed something between his legs. She has been learning how to subdue bad men from her young master. Seeing Victor hit Nick and Lily effortlessly crack the balls of the two bald men, the twins were relieved, so they quickly stood up and ran to check on Hilda, forgetting to cover themselves. Victor looked at them with a slight smile, then frowned as he saw the bruises of Nick's kicks on their tender skin. How dare he? Victor went to where Nick fell, then grasped him from his brown hair and lifted him up. Dear brother, do you know why I hit you? He asked Nick, who was holding his stomach in pain and could only spit blood when he tried to talk. Nick's situation was not good. Victor didn't keep his hand in that hit and some of Nick's ribs were broken. He could not move or use any skills because of the pain. He didn't expect Victor to be this strong or this unreasonable. Let me guess, you didn't expect me to be this strong, huh? Said Victor, who could easily read Nick's thoughts from his eyes. Do you know why I hit you? Ah, it seemed that you are in no situation to speak, so let me enlighten you. Victor said as he slapped Nick on the face, making him spit a couple of teeth. It was because you are an idiot, he said in a loud voice, then grabbed Nick's bloodied head and brought it close to his mouth and whispered. The ones who ordered you to kill me tricked you. I am a full player, he said to Nick, making him realize the truth, before kicking him between his legs, cracking some eggs and making Nick scream in despair. Do you know why they told you that? Victor continued to whisper. Because they wanted to implicate me in murdering you, he said as he threw Nick, who was wailing on the ground. I will not kill you, that goes against the family rules, Victor said loudly as he stopped whispering. Now, your first crime. It is doing such a dirty thing in the entrance. Don't you have any manners? Such things should be reserved to the bedroom, Victor said as he broke Nick's right leg by stepping on it, making him scream again and spit blood. Poor Nick did not have the chance to act from the first moment Victor started to act, and when he looked for his two henchmen, he found them wailing while holding their balls. Your second crime was touching my girls, said Victor. This young master hates others touching his girls, he added as he broke Nick's second leg. Your fourth crime, wait no, your third crime is destroying my properties. Do you know how much the dress the girls were wearing is worth? I don't, he said as he looked at Lily for an answer. It was $30,000, young master. $60,000 for two, said Lily with a smile. Ah, did you hear that? Do you think my money grew on a tree? I had to struggle for whole 9 months in my mother's womb to get it, Victor said to Nick as he broke his third leg, making him faint in pain and anger. Looking at him, Victor nodded in satisfaction. Now we can get to business, he thought. Now you two, Victor pointed at the two bald men who were squirming around on the floor. No need for acting, I can tell that you had been able to move 2 minutes ago. If you don't stand up now, I will let Lily keep hitting you there till it cracks for real, he said, making the two hooligans stand up immediately and salute in respect. We should please this guy, they thought. Now take off your clothes, all of it, he said. Leave nothing on, not even pendants, rings, or watches. What? Everyone, including Lily and the twins, looked at Victor with surprise. What is this young master thinking? Didn't you just take the girls' clothes off? Now you strip too, come on, this young master wants to see some skin, he said with a perverted smile. The twins turned their heads to the ground and tried hard to keep their attention on Hilda, who regained consciousness but was too weak to move. They decided to ignore this young master for now. They didn't hate him though, as they knew that he had just saved them, and he was doing all of this as revenge for them. But they couldn't be more wrong. Victor has different reasons. Lily soon lost her patience, looking at the two hesitating men. The young master has told you to undress, so undress. I don't want to see any piece of fabric on you. Or do you prefer to taste my foot again? She threatened them. They looked at each other before reluctantly taking off their clothes with a sigh, showing off their muscular tattooed tanned backs. Their hesitation was not that of shyness, but there was something wrong with the head of this young master. And they were afraid he might do some unspeakable things to them. Victor nodded his head in satisfaction as he inspected them, making the two men shiver in fear. Would he really do that to them? Now, undress Nick too, he has to share the punishment. How dare he touch my girls? He said arrogantly. The two men looked at each other, then at Nick, who was unconscious, deciding whether to do it or not. If Nick asked them later, they would be able to say that it was the twins who undressed him. So under Victor's investigating look, they helped Nick out of his final shred of clothing, rendering him in that same image in which his mother gave birth to him. Victor moved quickly and took all the clothes, forming a small pile using them and then sitting on it in triumph. He has just inspected them and noticed that none of them carried a phone. They didn't want anyone to know that they were here. Those are my trophies, he said in a proud smile. Now kneel on the ground and apologize to the twins till I am satisfied, he ordered them. They quickly nodded, then turned to the twins, knelt, and began to ask for forgiveness from the twins, who dared not look at the two naked men. Nick seemed to regain consciousness, so Victor quickly shot him a kick, returning him to the world of dreams, while he secretly snatched the two rings in his fingers. as the men did not dare take them off him. After about 10 minutes of waiting, Victor estimated that he had given the idiot outside enough time to do his deed. "That's enough, you can carry Nick and leave now," Victor said to them loudly, "and don't forget to tell him when he wakes up that if he did anything like this next time, the punishment would not be this light." He screamed at them. The men nodded, then stood up and carried Nick away quickly, as if fearing this crazy young master would change his mind. "We are free at last," they mistakenly thought.